All right, all right, all right. It's another Saturday. Therefore, it's another Saturday shoot the breeze. Want to thank everyone who participated last week. Want to thank those who will participate again this week. The conversations were really good last week. If you missed it, check it out in the playback. Um, Want to shout out to Oni. He had a show earlier today. I missed most of it, so I'll check out the playback. But you guys should check out Oni's live from today. Uh, Also, guys, this is episode 190. I want to point that out. 190. That means we're 10 episodes away from 200. And you guys should know, as adults, when there's a TV program or radio program that hits 100 episodes, 150, 200, that's a big deal. And you got to consider that, with the exception of a week here and there, what have you, it's been 200 weeks of shoot the breeze. That's pretty impressive. And uh, I'd like to ask you guys to give some suggestions. What should we do? The countdown is now 10. What should we do to celebrate for the 200th episode of Shoot the Breeze? I'll tell y'all real quick before I get into what we're doing tonight. There was a time where I was thinking to end Shoot the Breeze at 200. I'm not thinking that now, but there was a time I was like, you know what, let's get to 200 and then I'll be done with this. But I like it. I like Shoot the Breeze. I like the the conversations that we have, the camaraderie that we tend to have with one another. So I'm going to continue, but I would like to see the show be bigger in the future. Let's try to double the audience in the future, right? But yeah, we're 10 episodes now to 200. 10 episodes away from 200. I'd like to hear from you guys. Post your comments in the chat. I'll bring it up again during the show. But post your comments in the chat. What would you like to, for us to do for the 200th episode of Shoot the Breeze? Please drop your comments or email them to me or join the Discord and hit me up and let me know. With that said, what are we discussing tonight? By the way, drop a 1 if you can hear me. If you can hear me, drop a 1 to let me know that you can hear me out there in the YouTube streets. For some reason, I can't tell. Let me see. Yeah. I think you guys can hear me. What do we have in store for you guys tonight? We're bringing back a topic we didn't get to last week, which is how do we heal family members engaged in self-destructive practices. We're going to talk about Black community safety programs in light of some neo-Nazi shenanigans. Some organizing has happened in a Black community. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about why do Africans buy into the Christian concept of the serpent representing evil, when in Africa the snake is a positive symbol. We're going to try to answer the question, can Black people be racist? And also we're going to talk about, is Black America just Latin America with a few missing steps in the process of whitening? All of those topics we hope to cover tonight. At least we hope to cover the majority of them. Okay, I'm seeing the ones come in. Shout out to the matron. Shout out to Wardrum. Shout out to Trigger Happy. And shout out to Anthony McPhail. All of you who are out there. Shout out to those of you who remain silent but watch the show anyway. Shout out to all of you. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start the show officially. And on the other side, I'll drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1, as well as introduce any and all of my panelists. So, guys, do stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Yes, and make sure you're tuned in to Brother Bakari's BBN network. Make sure you're tuned into the Forecast Radio. Make sure you're tuned into Realm in the Bush, that's considered cheek. And last but not least, make sure you're tuned into Kofi, the Black Critic. Make sure you tune into the folks who are active and tackling topics of interest. Like I said, I had a day that was pretty good from what I caught. Interesting commentary coming in from the chat. One particular person. Kofi was on there talking, chopping it up with Oni. I think Anthony was in the chat, but Bakari was in the chat. The matron was out there. So, the guys who are putting in work, and in particular, let me highlight the matron. The matron is putting in work every week, doing reading for you. All you got to do is listen. So support her in her readings and what she's doing. Support everyone who's active. And let's keep building towards something even greater, With that said, I see Buana was trying to get on. I guess Buana's having troubles again. It makes no sense that Buana is having all these problems. Let me see. Buana, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm listening in. Hopefully this goes good because, we were supposed to talk about this connection thing, but we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that another time. We'll deal with that.
Yeah, my week was up and down, so sorry about that. But we'll talk about it. And let's see how this goes tonight, as you said. By the way, anyone who wants to join the panel tonight can join the panel. Just click the link pinned to the top of the chat. I'll also drop it in the comments in a few. You guys can join and have your voices heard. I'm not going to hold it up any longer. Let me just get to it. Let me drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1. This was a prompt that was for last week, but we ran out of time, so we'll do it this week. Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 says, How do we heal our family members engaged in these self-destructive practices or malpractices, if you will? Shout out to Kofi out there, by the way. I see him in the chat. So this prompt takes us to YouTube, I believe. Yes, takes us to YouTube. Let me make sure this is set up right. Make sure you guys can see it. And you guys let me know if for some reason the sound isn't coming through. Let me know for some reason if the sound isn't coming through. So we'll watch this short clip and then we will discuss it.
You know, skin bleaching again, we have to go colonial. You know, because if you're told that black is ugly, you know, anything too black not good, it's a proverb that the average child grows up knowing the meaning of a place like Jamaica. You internalize racism. That is how racism becomes refracted in our system of socialization. So the brown child in the family gets better treatment than the dark-skinned child. It translates into how you're treated at school, how you're treated in the workplace, how you're treated in the media. I mean, look at the Observer 3 and who gets featured, you know? And so the notion that if white you're all right, if you're brown stick around, if you're black get back, is something that people have had to contend with in a society that gave value in terms of your freedom to whether you were one stream or the other. And so again, we have not decolonized this value system. And we have a situation, I don't know if you remember when Joan Andrea Hutchinson went on television as someone who bumped up her hair, and people were calling from uptown saying, take that bumpy head gal off the TV. And she, being a person who critically reflected on the society through comedy, made a whole commentary on that. You know, that bumpy head gal, she made a tape back in the days of making tapes. But it also was a serious refraction and resistance to the dominance of the voice of the sector of the society that we call socially white, or the browns, you know, the ones who are entitled to have that opinion and have it reproduced into how we organize the society, unfortunately. So the notion of bleaching, you know, back in the day, maybe 40 years ago or more, people used to just use Ambien, Nadinol, and it was just seen as, you know, you just want to tone out your skin a little bit. But now the ramps of these imported gels and creams, rubbings, and all these paraphernalia that people use to change their complexion from black to brown. And this architecture of transforming one's look is supported by the merchants who encourage this practice by bringing the products in. You have to wonder at a society that doesn't cauterize the practices that are alien to a sense of self-making, a sense of elevating oneself in a development, in a sustainable development kind of way. This is something that's leaving people behind, whereas the UN, the United Nations, has a mantra that says, leave no one behind. So we need to be more intentional about speaking out, acting out, making policy that will prevent people harming themselves. But melanin is something that enables us to use our gland for producing and reproducing our intelligence. Now, when you deracinate your skin using skin bleaching products, and when you use chemicals to straighten your hair, not only is it disfiguring you in terms of your look, but it is also sending a message that you have no value, that you don't value what your contribution is to this world in terms of your own embodiment and your own interaction with other people in the society. The fact that your self-concept is hinged to a racialized platform, a racialized model of how we should look, then you know people are now so hooked on weaves and these kinds of artificial self-representations that you don't quite know who a person is. So when you hear the police describing a wanted person and saying the person is of bleach complexion, then you know that we are really twisted in our interpretation of who we are.
Very interesting discussion. She mentioned a product that I hadn't thought about that. Ambien. I hadn't thought about that in decades, to be quite frank. That was a thing when I was a kid. That and things like Noxzema and things of that nature. Drop a one in the chat if you remember those products when you were growing up as well. Buana was here, and looked like Buana dropped again and again and again. I think I'm gonna have to go back to StreamYard because I can't have Buana not being able to be on the show. He's an important part of Shoot the Breeze. So yeah, so you guys hit the Cash App so that I could pay for this StreamYard now. Buana, if you could try to come back on, do so if you can. In the meantime, let me introduce my other panelist who has joined me. That'll be Black Steel. Black Steel, how are you?
I'm doing good, Koku. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for coming through. Thanks for
Glad to
coming
hear.
through. I appreciate you as always. Yes, sir. So Black Steel is just me and you right now. How do we heal our family members engaged in these self-destructive practices? What say you?
Oh boy, this is a very loaded topic, man. It's a loaded topic because the basically, to start off, our society creates this problem. We live in an anti-black society, right? And blackness is seen as somehow deficient than whiteness. And it was necessary to basically put that sort of indoctrination within African people, so that way we would dehumanize ourselves. So everything from the music to the food, this whole, in order to reduce an African person, a black person, to slavery, it was necessary to dehumanize them, to bring them down to the level of livestock and cattle and whatever. So in order to accomplish that, we need to be taught that we're less than nothing. Somehow having dark skin is something negative, or having, being connected to Africa in some way makes you dumb or stupid or ugly or whatever that type of adjectives you want to use. And this type of thinking is just reproduced constantly throughout society, from music to entertainment. The propaganda is just nonstop. So how is it that we try to build a sense of a positive view of self within African people is something that is many people have talked about. But one thing I could say that it does start at home, right? Many parents are neglecting their responsibility, not only to teach Black people their history, but try to instill a love of Black people and a love of Blackness. So some of the things the young people might say, not just beyond saying the N word, but just, they'll say something like, "Oh, of course you're stupid. You're Black," or they just use Black as an insult. "Oh, you don't have anything of value to say. You're Black." So when you look at the models on TV and the actresses, many of them are lighter skinned, or there's even with, and sometimes in movies and films, they'll actually touch up an actor to make them lighter than they really are. So it's an interesting phenomenon, just how this self-hatred of African people continues to reproduce itself over and over and over again. So we have to create a space for not just ourselves, but for our young people And we have to be conscious of it. A lot of times, a lot of these things are happening in the background. So we're not always aware and conscious of it happening. Um, but when you can cut on the music and, like, talk about how you're going to murder each other and kill each other and slaughter each other and this is the way they devalue African people. There was recently a story here in the U.S. and Texas where some rapper got shot at a gas station at a car wash, and they shot his 5-year-old daughter too. Like, usually when we talk about gangs and whatnot, usually they would try to leave the women and children alone. But now, because we've so dehumanized ourselves, even Black children are seen as fair game in this violence. So, to answer the question, how do we heal our family members? First of all, we have to be very deliberate about it. We have to understand what is happening outside of the conscious community, outside these conscious spaces. Many Black people are unaware that this is even happening. Right? We just accepted it as normal because it's been hundreds of years. So I think we're going to have to, as Kwame Ture said, it's the job of the conscious to make the unconscious conscious. We have to, those of us who call ourselves conscious, have to deliberately reach out to our people. We could by be means of entertainment, um, anything, just by just talking sometimes to young people, talking to our youth and our elders is something we're going to have to do because a lot of us aren't even aware of that. Repetition, just constantly reinforce. Hey, you know what? I like your hair. Hey, I like your brother. You beautiful. Brother, you look nice. Sister, you look beautiful. Just constantly reinforcing those things. Whenever you hear somebody say something stupid like, "Oh, she's pretty for a dark skinned girl," we gotta rebuke that. No, you shut the fuck up. She's pretty, period. As if being attracted for a dark skinned person is an exception. Um, it's just something we just have to reach out to our people and continuously reinforce positive things about our people. It was in our music. Our music has been co-opted. If need be, we got to take control of our music again. I'm open to hearing any suggestion because to me, I know it's going to take a lot of work to break that conditioning. Thanks, Coach.
No, thank you, Black Steel. Thanks for that. That was well. That was well delivered. I would say also that we are attacked, if you will, from so many different directions. We are attacked from so many different directions that it's gonna take active work. This idea of this passive diffusion of information and stuff, nah, that's not gonna cut it. We got to be soldiers out here and really talking about the issues and things that affect us heavily, Urzuli is in the chat. I haven't seen Urzuli in the chat in a while. He said that Black people hate God. He goes on to say, if you hate God, you hate yourself. And I find that to be an interesting thing to say, but I'm curious, which God are we talking about? Because that's the part that we don't discuss enough, I think. We, from what I can tell, Black folks love God, the Christian, the Abrahamic religion. So which God is it that they don't love properly? And that's something that needs to be central to our conversation. You know what I mean? But with that said, let me throw it to my other panelist. Buana is back. Buana, can you hear me?
Sure. Can you hear me, Coco?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. First, let me say shout out to Black Steel. Black Steel is always sober in his commentary. Very sober statements he makes usually, and you too, Coco, because you said that.
Bonnie, still there?
Ah, damn it. Buana fell out. I think is when I try to turn up Buana's volume, I notice that he drops off. So I got to start doing that. I try to turn up your volume, Buana, you dropped off. Go out and come back in for me, and we'll get you right back. In the meantime, let me introduce Anthony. Anthony, how are you this week? All right. We can't be having issues with Buana.
What is going on?
Yeah, well, like really, what? Anthony, can you hear me? Hold on, Buana is back. Let me see.
That unmute.
Buana, hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I don't mean to jump in front of Anthony, but I'll be quick. Anthony. I just think that what you were saying and having a proactive approach, a step-by-step approach, a program. I don't know if I think a program to proactively go out into the streets and the communities and try to be effective. What Black Steel was said was important too. You know, you have to be that change that you want to see within your community, and don't let or permit people to come in from the outside and speak negatively about the characteristics of your people. You know, when they talk about black hair or she looked good for a black girl, you know, all these negative statements, you shouldn't let that ride. As a Pan-Africanist person, as a person who want to change, see changes within that community, you shouldn't let statements like that ride. So I think that both of y'all are correct in what y'all saying, and also be that change you want to see. You want to see beauty in your community, you participate in that beauty. You want to see people lose weight and be healthy, you be healthy. You want to see people take charge of certain things or whatever, you do it first, and then show the world that, hey, if I could do it, anyone else could do it. Because within our community, one of the things that we take a hold of is monkey see, monkey do. Best believe. If they see someone else doing it and being successful at it, they're going to want to copy it within our community. That's how our community works. So the challenge is you becoming that thing, and then you becoming that thing so much so that everybody wants to follow after that. This is the reason why the Nation of Islam became so popular one time, because of the successes. And monkey see, monkey do. Everybody wanted to participate in that form and format. So I would just challenge the brothers to be that change, be that kind of individual that you all want to see within your community. And then that healing that we talk about, you'll be able to see that. But Anthony, you could go, bro. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, what's up, brother? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir, Andy. Go ahead.
Okay, all right, man. Peace to all the brothers, man, on the panel, man. Peace to you, Koku. And I'd like to just say, man, this is a good topic, man. And I think in the first place, we got to start on the ground, man. We got to start at home. You know what I'm saying? With our children. You know, letting our children know how much we love them, and letting our children know how beautiful they are and how intelligent they are. You know what I'm saying? As African children, black children, we need to let them know that, and let them know that no matter whatever you hear people say when you go to school or you go out in the public, you know, that ain't true. No, that's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? We gotta let our children know how beautiful they are, man. You know, I'm saying we gotta start at home, because that's where it started. You know, in the house. You know, we can't expect for our children to go to public school, you know, or go out of society if it's somebody to tell them how beautiful they are. You know what I'm saying? No, that's something that we have to do ourselves. Yeah, I just think about, like, okay, right now we got a thing going right now, man. Now it's sweeping across, you know, the continent, man, and across the black world. Where you go, like with President Traore in Burkina Faso, you know, he just had some legislation passed about, hey, the hell with them wigs and all that old bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like in the judicial system with them old European wigs and white wigs, that's out, and they promoting African women wearing their natural hairstyles and everything like that. You know, and they got all this anti-bleaching thing. You know, they promote that real heavily over there in Burkina Faso and in other parts of the black world. You could go to South America and Brazil. You know, people are finally now happy to call themselves African. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the sisters, you know, wear their afros and everything. The brothers too. You know, and they and everybody, you know, I think for the census that they had like in the 2010s, you know, for the first time, 54% of the people said we African, or at least African mixed people. You know what I'm saying? African Afro descendant people. Well, before they were trying to say that Brazilians, they had them like, like the Portuguese was the majority and everything. But no, the people said, no, man, we black and we African and we proud. They got a whole Black is Beautiful movement, which was leading me to Koku right there in New York City. Where y'all at? Now y'all remember Carlos Cooks? Y'all remember what's the other brother's name? Who came after Cooks? Who was part of Cooks' organization? Who had the Black is Beautiful program in show in New York City? At Lambe Brass. You know what I'm saying? They had they kick-started a whole movement in the 1960s. And that movement lasts all the way throughout the 60s and into the 70s. But what happened, you know what happened? White folks seen this shit, they said, we got to find a way to stop this shit. And what they came up with them blaxploitation movies, they came up with the degenerate-ass music, which later morphed into the rap thing. You know what I'm saying? Which, with the stuff that they created to denigrate us as people by making us denigrate ourselves. You know what I'm saying? You looking at these blaxploitation movies where every time the brother opened his mouth up, he called his sister a bitch. You know what I'm saying? And every time you look around, the sister in the row, she's a prostitute or whatever, a drug addict. And so, like I said, we got the best thing that we could do, in my opinion, is start at home in the house. Start at home in the house and teach our children, let our children know how beautiful they are. Teach our children our history, because ain't nobody gonna do this kind of thing, for our children but us. We got to do it. Our problem is right now, the current parents, we fail them. You know what I'm saying? We the grandparents, we fail them. Because see, now the mom now is Sexy Red. You know what I'm saying? The mom, the fathers now is what this other fool name. It's the baby or somebody, or Lil Durk, or one of these old fools. These Negroes don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. You know what I'm saying? So we got to we got to start over again, but we still got to do it though, man. And I knock off right there.
Good stuff from everyone, man. Well done. Well done. Is there any other thoughts from anyone on the panel? In the chat. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm gonna start making a habit to not read the chat comments for the most part, because the whole thing about Black people hating God is quite ridiculous on the very face of it. Black people, especially are usually the most religious people that you'll ever meet. Every Black person, just speaking within the United States, people who identify as religious are actually decreasing. Atheists are like the fastest growing set of people, with the exception of African Americans. We tend to be the most religious group of people. So what it is that really, instead of people focusing on the true source of our calamity, which is white hegemony and racism, capitalism, so on and so forth, they want to start shifting the blame to some sort of religious supernatural excuse. Well, the reason Black people were enslaved is because they disobeyed God. But the reason this is because blah, blah, blah. You start sounding like the Hebrew Israelites and the Nation of Islam. There's no solutions to be found in the supernatural or in the divine, the hereafter. All of our solutions have to be rooted in analysis and study and the real fucking world. Enough of this religious gobbledygook. Our true solution has to be found within our culture, within ourselves. So that's all I want to say.
I appreciate that. Black. Buana, go ahead.
I wanna second that, what Black Steel say, but I would say to Black Steel, consider the idea of the believe in yourself movement is a very scary notion to someone who relies on an ultimate power to solve all their problems. It's comfortable. It's almost like if I could put all my burdens of the world in this supernatural figure or being that's gonna solve all my problems. Psychologically, that's like a reprieve. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I can relax now. I don't have to do it all by myself. But the believe in yourself thing is scary for a whole lot of people in our community because they never really have the challenge or the test and having to rely solely on themselves. Solely on themselves. That is a very lonely feeling, especially when you feel like you are incapable of doing certain things or achieving certain things. That is very lonely. So I think that that's one of the reasons that we get into the what is spookism and this whole this whole ethereal being is going to solve all our problems. So all we need to do is just give our burdens to that situation, and that's going to solve all our issues, when we know deep down inside it doesn't work that way. Yes, you could have faith and all that good stuff, but you must have faith in yourself. And I think that we talked about that the other day. Marcus Garvey said that one of the most difficult things that he had to deal with in dealing with the UNIA movement is selling the Negro to himself. That is extremely difficult because our buy-in is someone else could do it for us. They've been doing it for us, and we know who that is. But that, needless to say, I do agree with you. I think that believe in yourself idea and movement should be spread among our community like a disease. That should be spread, but that's the challenge. That's just the challenge. That's our challenge, I guess. But I'll leave it there. Coco. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, Coco, could I say something about this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, it's not a pushback or anything. I just wanted to just mention to like what our brother Blake Steele has said. When you talk about the religious thing, I just want us as black people, as African people, remember it's the difference between religion and spirituality. And like those religions, that stuff that he was talking about, that's that Abrahamic stuff. What he was talking about us, we committed a crime. Well, that's all of this bullshit. Remember, that's something that's not of ours, of us anyway. And I think because our spirituality is actually part of our culture. Because remember, it was our spirituality that helped us kick off the rebellion in Haiti. You know what I'm saying? It was our spirituality that helped Nat Turner. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to make that point clear, that there's a difference between that religion, which we talking about, that Abrahamic stuff, and our spirituality, which is a part of our culture as African people.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Anthony. Yeah, I was going to get to that before, too, that I ultimately, I think what Black Steel and Buana and Anthony said is just on point. If we're going to rely or fall back or be empowered by a belief in a something greater than us, it's not the Abrahamic stuff. It's not the religious stuff, right? It's what our ancestors talked about. But most importantly, we have to recognize the gods within ourselves. We are the gods who can change reality. But instead, they have us waiting for some other being, some other thing outside of us to come and save us. And that's really where we're failing. Recognize a God in you, man. You are a creator. Each and every one of us, men, women, and in between, we are creators, man. And we need to create the reality that we want to see. And that, as we all know, as most of us know, that's gonna be a fight. That's gonna be a struggle, because it's not like the people who are pushing us down ain't exerting their force down on us. You know what I mean? We gonna have to push back. We gonna have to fight back. People don't just give up power. People don't just give up domination. That's a mindset that we have, right? That people will just give up power and give up their domination of us because they'll see our suffering and all this old nonsense. But that's not the real world. And it's time for us to connect with our real reality. I was hoping that Azuliism would have come up and explain his thoughts on God, because I'm curious as to what God are you talking about exactly. But I haven't seen him come up, so but that's fine. I see Arthur is out there. He says religion assuming it's sincere, is the codification of spirituality. There's no essential difference. Duddy Bookman would have told you you're doing it wrong at the boys Cayman. I don't know. I don't know about that. But shout out to Athmazer for being out there. I shout out to Zuli who's out there. Shout out to Sister Raw. And shout out to Daily Affirmations by Pauline. Is there any other last thoughts on this prompt before we go to the next one? Real quick.
I don't know if anybody remembers.
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody remembers, but there was a black boy who was suspended from school because he wore his hair. He had dreadlock. He had locks, and even though they passed some sort of law in Texas called the Crown Act, where black people could not, it was illegal to basically discriminate against our hair. This boy was suspended. I mean, literally every time he come back from school, off suspension because he refused to cut his hair, they suspend him again. So I know we got to do some work on ourselves, but I don't want to ignore the role that, white people play in it as well, because they do really try to enforce a certain look or a certain standards, basically saying the way we wear our hair is unprofessional or something like that. They work really hard to dehumanize us as well.
I want to ask you a question, Black Steel, because this is important to that statement.
Shoot, go ahead.
Well, did Juana drop off again? Seems to be there. I didn't do anything.
Okay, so with the seat.
Okay. No, Juana dropped off. Juana, come back. For some reason, your connection is, I guess, unstable or something. But come back up and finish asking your question. While Juana's getting this thing together, let me ask you guys, are you guys familiar with the sister in this video?
I can't say I've ever heard of her before, but I mean, I like what she's saying, but I can't say I'm familiar with her now.
Yeah, Coco, I seen her before in a video before.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's see. Buana's back. Let's see if we can hear him. Buana,
Coco, can you hear me?
Hear us? Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So,
yes, sir.
So the Sikhs, right, have their hair wrapped up. Yeah. So the Sikhs have their hair wrapped up, right, when they go to school. The Sikh children, and then you have the Muslim girls. They usually have their hair covered. So if a Rastafarian boy was to go to school, go to Texas school, couldn't he have that hairstyle as a religious right, just as the Sikh does or the Muslim girl does? Is that not recognized as a religious right to have his hair like that?
Yeah, I believe that you're correct. That is something that would be considered a religious practice, like you said. In theory, that would unless it's a private school, right? So if a school has a certain dress code or a private school, they may be able to deny on the sort of religious grounds, right? But in a public school, for example, no, you couldn't discriminate against a child wearing dreadlocks any more than you could discriminate against a Muslim wearing a hijab. But I would say only in my thoughts, in a public school you couldn't do that, but in a private school maybe you could. That's something that makes me think. Yeah, you're right. You could not. I'm trying to look at the story now. You said it. Let's see. School's punishment violates the Crown Act. They sued. This was in Texas. So he got in-school suspension for this. But yeah, I'm trying to see if it was a private school. I think it was a private school. Yeah.
Yes. It would probably have to be a private.
Yeah, because in public school,
yes,
you wouldn't be able to do that.
Good discussion, guys. Without further ado, though, let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2. The chat is having a good back and forth conversation. So if you're listening to the playback, make sure to check out the chat replay as well. Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 says, Black community safety programs. Thoughts. So you guys may have picked up on this. I know Brother Bakari sent it to me today. A few people was on it. Actually, a few people sent this to me today. This event that happened here in the States, we'll watch. It happened in Ohio, actually. So we'll watch the video. This comes with 2 attachments. We'll watch this one, and then we'll watch the second one, then we'll discuss.
No sound, Koku.
No sound?
Yeah, no sound. No sound.
Can't hear it, Coco.
I don't know what's going on. I'm starting to become a conspiracy theorist that they're fucking with my stream and stuff now.
No. I can understand
Sharing.
it.
Yeah. So let me stop sharing. Someone mic is giving feedback. Let me stop sharing. Let me share it again, because there's no reason why this doesn't work. And there's no reason why one of them should be having all this trouble getting on too. Okay, so let me make sure you guys could see my screen. Play it again. You guys let me know if you could hear it. Let me mute my mic first.
Turn now to one community in Ohio, which is now the center of a growing national debate about civil rights, hate speech, and the Second Amendment. Correspondent and NBC News Now daily anchor Morgan Radford visited the town of Lincoln Heights, where residents have formed an armed community defense group in the wake of a neo-Nazi rally. Morgan joins now. You were there just on Tuesday. What did the rally about? What's going on?
Yeah, I was there just this week. It was fascinating, because what's interesting is that this town was founded during the Great Migration 20s as a refuge for Black citizens, which is why it was especially painful when neo-Nazis suddenly appeared in this 3,000-person majority. They decided to arm and building their own streets. Now they're at the center of a much larger debate about protection and free speech and who gets it.
These aren't police officers or soldiers.
Business owners, fathers, your sons, daughters.
These are civilians, members of the Lincoln Heights Safety and Watch program.
It's a duty. Okay, let's go.
The duty, protecting their neighborhood, Morty Black Village of Lincoln Heights, Ohio. After neo-Nazis held a rally here last month, carrying rifles, waving swastikas, and hurling racial slurs, just when children were let out of school. At the time, law enforcement officials said the neo-Nazis did not break any laws, but an investigation by county prosecutors is ongoing. Weeks later, the KKK came.
First African-American community of Bucks and Dixon line is
Safety and Watch Group spokesperson Durance Daniels says the police did not do enough, which was more chilling because the town was founded in the 1920s as a safe haven for Black residents.
Lincoln Heights is our home. If somebody broke home, you call the police, and the police says, if they do it again, we never broken any law, so we're just going to allow them to break into your home again. What would you do?
Are you worried at all that having a armed response just create more friction, create more danger?
I'll answer that by saying I've never felt safer as a Black man in my community than I have right now.
The mayor of Evendale oversees the police force that responded that day, said in NBC News, our emphasis on de-escalation and public safety resulted in the incident without injuries to any of the persons involved. But residents here say they can't afford to wait. Every day, the Safety and Watch escorts children to school and patrols the streets.
Why do you not wear masks?
Those Nazis we have reports of them finding our backgrounds here, so we're not hiding ourselves from the residents, but we protect our family from what we're doing out here.
Many locals do support the security. Some, like business owner Eric Ruffin, say they wish the group wasn't needed.
We don't want to become what we hate. You know, we don't want to become a group of people that walk around feeling like we have a reason in America to have to protect ourselves.
And this community,
stand up,
is not backing down.
We contacted the mayor of Evendale's office, and they say that prosecutors are looking at body camera footage of the neo-Nazi rally to see if any criminal charges could be filed. But Hamilton County Sheriff is also calling on state lawmakers to pass legislation making it a crime to wear a mask with purpose of intimidation.
So, Morgan, let me ask you, one of you interviewed there, a young man said he's never felt safe in his community than he does now. This could have an impact nationwide, things like this. I mean, there is a contagion factor in safety. People always seek it. What did the mayor or anybody that you spoke to think about the
Duran, I don't want to speak for him, but after my conversation with him, I feel like I could confidently say he would say the contagion factor had happened. Because when I asked, is this a reaction to a local moment or a national movement? And he said, look at January 6th. He said, you already have people felt emboldened to come here locally because of what's all nationally. If you can hang from the building, hallowed halls of the Capitol and then be pardoned, not be prosecuted, why don't you think you can come to a small village of African Americans, only 3,000 people?
Morgan, does the group have any real authority? As long as they stay within the confines of the law, they should be okay.
It's a great question. You know, I asked that basically, are you stopping them when they come in because you think someone looks suspicious? Is that, profiling in its own sort of way? And they said, no. We are patently aware of our rights are and what our limitations are. They said, we're not officers. What we do is we are trying to cooperate with the police department. So if we see suspicious activity, because remember the KKK came back with flyers just after this rally, but they're saying this is more a defensive to deter people from entering our city and showing them by virtue of our masks, by virtue of our guns, that you can't come here and we're not going to take this punchline.
All right, important story, fascinating. And correspondent at NBC News Now, daily anchor Morgan Rad.
So this prompt, as I said before, came with 2 attachments. Let me stop sharing because, this thing ain't working the way it's supposed to work. And let me share the second one. So you guys should be hear this when I play. Let me know if you guys can hear this in a second. Let me mute my mic.
Show more of the response from when neo-Nazi demonstrators came to Lincoln Heights last month.
Hamilton County Sheriff releasing hours of footage showing deputies and angry neighbors telling the white supremacists to leave the I-75 overpass. WLWT News 5's Rachel Hersheimer broke down the intense encounters between neighbors, police, and neo-Nazis.
A Hamilton County Sheriff deputy confronting a hate group.
Now, don't you spray me! I'll take get the van and go!
February 7th, neo-Nazis waved flags donned with swaths on an overpass connecting Lincoln Heights and Evendale, causing chaos and anger throughout the community.
What y'all want to do? What y'all want to do?
Deputies tried to calm the crowd.
We know each other. I got you. Come on, man. Nobody stands for this.
But residents would not back down. Some grabbed the flags and destroyed them. Even when the hate group left in a U-Haul, tensions escalated. A few feet away, a crowd gathers around a black Jeep. They say it belonged to the neo-Nazis and had a dog inside.
Black Jeep is what firearms and came out of. There was a U-Haul that was parked over there on that corner side of the building.
You then see deputies talking to the people surrounding the Jeep.
You are going to de-escalate this round. Right now, I'm yelling, sir. I'm sorry.
I understand.
Yes,
right now, it's a bunch of people, local people, that are highly agitated and upset. Understandably, what happened here today. I think once we get this car out of here, that's going to de-escalate it a whole bunch.
Hamilton County Mayor McGuffey condemning saying the demonstrators had the legal right to carry in Ohio, but came with no advance warning. So far, no charges have been brought against the neo-Nazi demonstrators. The sheriff is working with the prosecutor's office about potential charges.
Now, remember, Evendale police also released body camera footage, which included one officer who talked with the neo-Nazi group in Lockland after leaving the bridge. Evendale police, they have now launched, or Evendale, rather, the city of Evendale has launched an independent investigation into its officers.
Weather story now. If you missed it, and now.
White folks are a trip, and black folks fall for it, man. White folks will act like they care. Like, oh my goodness, you mean neo-Nazis came around here? You mean my uncle and them was around? Oh, come on, man. Black folks eat that shit up. But I want my panelists to discuss the prompt as it is, but I want to highlight something that was said here in the chat, and it's an interesting question. Where is it? Yeah, Athrazer says, too bad black people can't arm themselves to get rid of the drug dealers in their neighborhoods. And that's an interesting statement, because we see neo-Nazis, we have a reaction, we have a response, and where is that response to the drug dealer who looks like us, the pedo who looks like us? How come we don't do that? Like, how come we don't have a similar response for those things? So I'd like the panelists to touch on that when they give their responses as well. So let me mix it up. We start with Anthony on this one. Anthony, what say you?
Yeah, that's good, man. I like that. I'm gonna start off saying this here. Okay. As we said in the previous prompt, like I said, it starts at home. So whatever we do as black people, as African people in this country, whatever we do, we have to start at home first. Okay, now the question about why don't we get rid of the drug dealers and the element inside of our community that victimizes our community? I would say this here. You may have to kind of expand your mind a little bit. I'm talking to the brother who made that point, because there actually, even though it's not in the headlines, there actually are a lot of brothers across the country. They got a nationwide movement that are doing just that. The brothers from out of Detroit, the Detroit New Era, they doing just that. And they not only in Detroit no more. They in Cleveland, they in Cincinnati, and they in Atlanta, and they expanded. Okay, you have the brothers and sisters in Buff, man, the National Black United Front. They doing some of the same kind of things. So what I'm saying, okay, we may not see it every day on the news because ain't nobody gonna highlight the mainstream media is never gonna highlight black positivity. You know what I'm saying? But it is happening. People are doing it. I mean, communities across the country are doing it. Across this country are doing it in black communities, man. Okay, is it where it need to be, where we want to see it at? No, not 100%, man. We got a ways to go, but it's a start. And I have to say that, sometimes, and I'm not saying the brother Afro's there, I'm not talking about you, but I'm saying sometimes when people say things like that, maybe you had to look in the mirror and say, are you asking why you ain't doing nothing? You know what I'm saying? Or me, if I say something like that, what am I doing? You know what I'm saying? We have to ask ourselves that. But there are a lot of brothers and sisters across the land, man, that's doing some positive things, and I think that we need to highlight them more. But yeah, man, we need to start in our community first. We need to go after the drug dealers. We need to go after the gangbangers. And I mean go after them. We need to give them an ultimatum. You're gonna cut that bullshit out, and you're gonna get with our program. Something to help build our community. And if you don't, we're gonna have to see you. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, one thing we have to remember, a lot of times these same criminals and thugs and all this, and which I used to be one of them until I got my mind right. So my community got my mind right. A lot of the time, these are our family members. No, these are our family members. So ask yourself, if you could be one of us, it could be Koku, it could be Buana, it could be Black Steel, and doing all of the great things that y'all do. But you got a son or a nephew who out there fucking up shit. You know what I'm saying? No, what you gonna do on that? You know, you got to talk to him. No, you got to try to get his mind right. And if he don't get his mind right, you gonna have to do some other shit. But I'm just saying, yes, it starts with us, and yes, 100%. That's a problem we got to deal with, man. Because before you can get up and fight, you got to have a healthy body to go and fight. You can't fight as a sick man. You know what I'm saying? You got to, and that means we got to get our shit right. I don't want to go on too well, but I'll leave it at that, Coco.
Then you could take your time and give your thoughts. You ain't got to rush, man. Especially when there's only a few of us on the panel, But I'll say this: I agree with Anthony. Actually, the one pushback I think I would give to Anthony's statement is, even though we can't expect mainstream media to report the positive works that we do in our communities, but we would know, though. We talk, man. We talk. We know what's happening. If I'm in Brooklyn and there's something positive going on in Queens, I hear about it. Like we would know, and I think that it is a good question, and I think it's a fair comparison. I see Trigger says it's not a fair or right comparison. I think it is. I think the same way we could get riled up when a white boy takes his position against us, we should be similarly getting amped up and riled up when one of our own people takes a position against us. Like Anthony said, it starts with us first. It's cool to protect yourself from neo-Nazis walking up through your spot, but are you dealing with the dudes who are actively in the community, actively telling youths, don't be afraid to go to jail, man? I've witnessed that before. I've had to tell a grown man about that before. I talked about that on Shoot a Breeze years ago. You're talking to a 13-year-old boy, ask him if he's a punk, if he's scared to go to jail. Like, dude, what the fuck is he supposed to be going to jail for? Like, we do need to deal with these people around us who look like us, and I think we need to deal with them first, to be quite frank. Anthony, before I go to another panel, I'd like to ask you. You mentioned that you used to be out there until your community got you straight. So if you don't mind me asking, how did your community get you right?
Okay, yeah. And ironically, it was a brother from the Nation of Islam. He was the head of the chapter here in Shreveport. His name was Willie X. Richardson. And he used to come to me and say, hey, man, okay, yeah, you out here doing this here, you getting money, you know what I'm saying? But you doing it, you doing this at the detriment of your people, man. You preying on your people's misery. You know what I'm saying? I was in that game. And you know what I'm saying? And like, he used to see me all the time. He'd always put me to the side and talk to me. And like a hard-headed Negro, because I was a knucklehead back then. It took time for it to dawn on me, for me to realize, okay, I get what you're saying. I had to go and do a little prison time. But I'm saying, and even after that, he would come to me and talk. He'd say, man, you got your mind right yet? And I started listening to him and talking, man, and I just, and he told me, he said, it's brothers like you, man, like when I was doing that, before I went to prison, before I got reformed. He said, before you do it, he said, brothers like you who doing that, you know what? Man, when we get our shit together, we gonna come after your ass. And I'm like, you gonna come after me? I say, yeah, man, because you a detriment to our people. You a detriment to our children. You know what I'm saying? And when I thought about it like that, and then I ended up catching that charge, and I did some time. I thought I had a long time to think about it. And when I came out, I got myself together. I said, man, you know what? No, I said, brother, you sure was right, man. I thank you for putting that knowledge in my head, man.
Well, that's an amazing story there. I appreciate that story. Thanks for sharing that with us. And I hope for the listeners, I hope you guys share that. If you have to make a clip of it, share that. Let some of the youth hear that. That's a great story of I appreciate that, Anthony. Juana dropped off again, so I got to go to Black Steel now. Black Steel, what are your thoughts on all of it?
Couple things. So I got a couple of three things to say about this situation. First of all, I want to say that I dislike the term neo-Nazi, right? Neo from the Greek meaning new, right? There's nothing, if anything, the Nazis, the National Socialist Party of Germany, took many of their ideas from the United States. In fact, the Nuremberg laws, the laws the Germans put in place after Adolf Hitler took power, the Nuremberg laws, Hitler's inspiration for the Nuremberg laws came directly from the Jim Crow South, right? And Hitler admired the way the United States was able to keep Black people as second-class citizens. So he used those Jim Crow laws as a template for his Nuremberg laws, except for the fact that Hitler thought that some of the Jim Crow laws were actually too harsh. So, if anything, the Americans were ahead of the game when it came to the ideas of National Socialism. All right. That's one thing I always like to point out, that there's nothing, if anything, the Nazis could be called neo-Americans, if anything, because Hitler admired the way not the way the Americans eradicated mostly their indigenous population. They call it manifest destiny, which basically the American had the right to spread from sea to shining sea. In Nazi Germany, Hitler called it LIVESTREAM, which is German for living space. So the way that the Americans eradicated the Native American population to make room for European settlement, Hitler wanted to do the same thing in Europe to the people he considered to be inferior. Jews, Slavic people, Russians, communists, so on and so forth. So I always like to point that out, because when we speak about neo-Nazis as if it's a historical thing, as if these are just a revival, when in reality, the Nazis were taking cues from America. Another thing I want to say is that I think this is a great thing. And many times Black people arming themselves and being willing to kill them the way white people want to kill us has been the only thing standing between us and a mass lynching. And I think I don't want to look up the quote by Ida B. Wells. He talked about how a Winchester rifle should have a place of honor in every Black home, because it provides to us the protection that the law refuses to give. And she mentioned in her speech, this is back in the 1890s, how several lynchings had been thwarted by Black people taking up arms and defending themselves, which is something that's usually left out of the history. But I think this is good. This is something that Black people arm themselves. And, if you want to play Nazi, we're not playing you. All right, we're going to fight. We're going to defend ourselves. We're not going to let you steamroll over this. I think the very fact this woman is even asking this question is absurd, the reporter, because the police and the Klan, many situations work hand in hand. Many Klan members join the police with the express desire to hurt Black people. It's an initiation for them. All right, they can brutalize Black people under the cover of law. So the idea that this Klan member and this cop are speaking together, many of those Klan members probably work with law enforcement. All right, let's just be clear about that. There's the police have long been infiltrated by white supremacist elements, and the majority of domestic terror incidents in the United States are a result of right-wing white supremacist terrorist groups, not Muslims. It ain't Antifa. What did Chris Rock say? It's not Al Qaeda. It's Al Cracker. Those are the people who are the majority of causing domestic terrorist disturbances within the United States of America. So what those brothers did was simply common sense, if you ask me. if black people are citizens of the United States, which we're supposed to be, then the right to bear arms should not be infringed. Second Amendment rights. I know that those are only words on paper, but if that's something that they're saying, what are they really complaining about? But it's the very thought that black people are daring to take up weapons and defend themselves. This sets many white people on edge. For example, in California, when the Black Panther Party took up arms to defend themselves, open carry used to be a law. It was okay to open carry within the state of California. Ronald Reagan, who was the governor at the time, actually had the law changed to where California was no longer an open carry state. They were willing to change the law to prevent black people from owning and carrying firearms. To the third point, about black people arming themselves to get rid of drug dealers. I think I don't know this guy. That's something that I often hear white people say, well, what about Chicago or whatever, as a kind of a side, kind of a snide dig at people. But why do black people sell drugs? Why is it that drugs are being sold within the black community? I always want to get to the root of the problem. Why do people sell drugs? So we know why these white supremacists went to the neighborhood. They went to the neighborhood to, terrorize, to cause disruption, to threaten people. But why do people sell drugs in the community? I mean, one reason is because there's very few economic activities. Many of these people who don't have proper education, proper schooling, they'll sell drugs as a way to meet their basic needs. They may want money to buy food, or there's also, they want money to buy luxuries and whatnot. But many times when these communities are reduced to the level of selling drugs within the community, usually it's to fill a need, economic need that's not being met by the society. Black people don't make the drugs. We don't grow the cocaine. We don't grow the marijuana. Well, maybe grow a few marijuana plants. But when it comes to wide scale distribution, that is not being handled by black people in these communities. Usually these drugs are funneled. So if you really want to deal with the problem of black people dealing drugs within the community, we got to go to the source as to black communities being economically deprived, being basically segregated, being cut off from resources and things like that. So it leaves the youth with the desire they want to live the same lavish lifestyle they see others live. They're going to sell drugs. They're going to sell dope. They're going to do what they need to. Poverty creates crime, and that's truly the reality situation. Poor neighborhoods, there's going to be crime. This is not a black thing. This is a human thing. When other ethnic groups come to have poor environments, they resort to criminality. Unfortunately it's a many-headed monster. It's a hydra. You cut off one head, another one grows in its place. But until you tackle the root issue of poverty within the black community, then if you were to go in there and you could drive out every drug dealer tomorrow, they're gonna be back. They're gonna be back until you deal with the essential issues. And I think that sometimes when we have this conversation, I think we're looking at trying to put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, right? You just get them out of there. Okay, but they'll be back until you deal with something to try to help these young people and give them options. Then you're not gonna be able to just drive out the dope boys. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
I appreciate your commentary, Black Steel. As for the last point, you know me already. I kind of have an issue with that last point. I think it's a slippery slope. And I think you're kind of inviting, this is just me personally, I think it's inviting degeneracy when you give, everything you said is true, don't get me wrong. And we do need to go to the root cause of the problem. But the thing I think it's often overlooked is that, let's be honest, a lot of the people in the gangs do peddling the drugs, this, that, and the other, they never tried anything else. I saw something a few months ago a 18-year-old female on Twitter was, I forgot what happened. She was 18. I think maybe she got an STD. She was doing OnlyFans. And someone made the point. They said, damn, you're 18 doing OnlyFans and getting an STD? You didn't even try anything else. You understand what I'm saying? You didn't even try anything else. Right? Like, I think that's the issue that a lot of our people don't consider. A lot of these guys didn't try anything else. They just went right into that. So that's why I'm kind of hot. I'm hard on that element in the community, because I know to myself, I ain't just arrived on Earth yesterday. I know to myself from when I was in school and saw a lot of guys just didn't try to do nothing else. You know what I mean? But while I have him here, Buano, what say you to all of
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want to revisit that statement that Black Steel made when he said that poverty is create crime. I really want to revisit that. Maybe not now. Maybe when my connection is a little bit better, I want to revisit that argument. I want to come back to that. So, Koku, stick a pin in that for some other time. As far as this community safety programs, I think that all of the brothers made fair statements. There should be, I believe in local policing. I believe that there should be policing in regards to who comes into our communities and who leaves our communities. I believe in external policing, okay? But I also believe in internal policing as well. There are things that goes on within our communities, like domestic violence, ability to get food, a myriad of different things that goes on within our community, that I believe that there should be some person or people that are people who are vulnerable within our community should have the ability to go to and say, help me. Instead of going to the police and saying, my husband beating up on me, say, I want to go to this group in my community and say, I need you to remove my crazy cousin, or I need you to remove my husband or boyfriend. He's beating up my children. He's beating me up. I need you to have him removed, instead of going to the white police or instead of going to the government. You know, so that policing is good as well. So I believe in external policing, but I also believe in internal policing for the issues that is going on within our community. That's very important. Another thing too, I think that the ability to defend yourself is an important thing. I remember I tell Brother Bakari that in America, that 26% of the people, Black people, own firearms. Black people, 26% of the Black community, and 36% of the white community, which is like 200 and something, 31 million, they own firearms as well. So you outgunned in the gun department. So, and even in that, we don't have a place where we could go that manufactures bullets as well. So when you have these on the ground kind of battles like that, we are still vulnerable. I know the display of force in showing guns and we ready to defend our community makes us look, but the reality is we are extremely vulnerable. Extremely vulnerable. You know, yes, you can only fight for so long when they could cut off your water, they could cut off your light, and they could cut off your ability to move around to even get any kind of extra ammunitions and weapons. So the idea of this ground fight with white supremacists, when they are in the presidency now, they're not only coming to your neighborhood as Nazis, they're in the presidency now, issuing Nazi salutes. So how are you going to defend yourself against the army? You know, so we have to be realistic in our ideas and realities. Yes, you should try to defend where we can defend, but we are extremely vulnerable. So we have to make relationships and develop relationships outside of our so-called formal small little enclaves to have bigger relationships with other kinds of people, because we are other kinds of Black people, because we are extremely vulnerable. We don't want to admit that, but that's just a reality. One last thing, I had a question for Anthony, you know, because Anthony said he was a bad man one time. So Anthony, did you reform yourself, or did you just age out because you couldn't hang with them them young boys in New Orleans? That's a question I ask you. Maybe you can hang with them young boys in New Orleans. So you say, well, let me hang it out, cause I get older now and I can't hang with these young boys. But I'll leave it at Koku.
No problem, man.
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead, Anthony.
Okay, number one, Buana, in my town is Reedville, I actually, and it ain't nothing to brag out, but see, I actually was a real bad dude. You know what I'm saying? Other bad dudes feared me. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing. But like, one thing I want to say to Koku, I want to address the Koku. You hit it on the head, Koku, about that, you didn't even try. And that's one thing that the brother Willie X used to tell to me. He sat me down, he said, you know what, Anthony? They got long cuts, you got shortcuts. And you want to take the shortcut. You know what I'm saying? He said, you want to take the shortcut and make the fast money. You know what I'm saying? Instead of, getting going to school, learning your trade, learn how to do something. In which after that, I actually went. I went to job, go and learn something. From him. But that's what I wanted to do, man. I was that guy. I seen the fast money. My brother was selling drugs. I wanted the fast money. I wanted to go buy me a car, buy me some guns, and all kind of stuff that, that Negroes back then was doing, man. Ignorant Negroes was doing. If that's what it is, though, man, I was straight up just lazy. Hey, my mom always told me, hey, you gonna sleep your life away? Before I started doing that and making money. And then when I started doing that, you say, well, you gonna go to jail. You know what I'm saying? But that's what it was. I chose the shortcuts instead of the long cuts. But thankfully, I learned how to say, hey, man, look here, you know what? The long cuts is better than the shortcuts. But that's what it was, man. I'll leave it right there.
Yeah, Anthony, that's good stuff, man. Damn, I might have to interview Anthony one of these days, man. Like, and if he's willing, because this is the kind of stuff we need to hear. We got to hear the truth. I think we tend to deal in theories and stuff a lot, and the reality is that a lot of these guys who are in the nonsense, they're not in that because they're facing some abject poverty and there's a lot of these guys never even fucking tried. And we just gotta be real about it. And we gotta, the main point really and truly, because I don't disagree with anything any of you guys have to say, but the main point is we got work to do inside the house, and while we also protect the house from outsiders. So I'll leave that point there. But is there any last thoughts from anyone on the panel?
Yeah, I want to say a couple of three things. But first of all, shout out to you, Anthony, because you were able to get out there. You saw that it wasn't for you, and that's what's up. And I like that. So you mentioned about the young lady who got an STD. She was on OnlyFans selling ass. Okay, all right. In the previous prompt, our very first prompt, we talked about how we deal with dealing with the negative images that Black people have to face with. So there's a lot of things that are going on here, right? Number one, especially young Black people are bombarded with negative images from the selling drugs, getting fast money, scams. Scam is a thing. So many of these young people, and you deal with an educational system that basically reinforces that Black people aren't worth anything. They talk about the school to prison pipeline. Many Black children are on that school to prison pipeline. So they're young and they're already being taught even at a young age that they don't matter. That this is all that is good for them. So Buana mentioned about poverty being linked with crime, and I know, Brother Bakari doesn't like for me to look at other ethnic groups, but for this discussion, I want to take a brief detour. So currently in the United States, when you think of gang banging and criminality, you automatically go to Black people. But the very first street gangs were not Black people; they were the Irish immigrants in New York. There's a real good movie, Gangs in New York. Those of you who haven't seen it, Daniel Day-Lewis, Leonardo DiCaprio, highly recommended. But the Irish gangs of New York were the very first gangs because they came off those boats. They were fleeing the potato famine in Ireland. They were dropped in the places like New York. They were forced to work poverty wages. And that's when you start to see the beginnings of street gangs within New York City. The same thing with the Italian immigrants. That's where the mafia comes from. I mean, they call it La Cosa Nostra, which means our thing. So basically, these criminal organizations were started by poor immigrants. And what moved them away from that was that the United States basically gave them an economic foundation. So during the 1860s, for example, Abraham Lincoln passes the Homestead Act, where you could literally go out west and get some free land. You put a $5 deposit and you could farm that land, it's yours. That wasn't always 1862. That wasn't available for black people. Black people couldn't go out there and homestead like that. But what they did was, as Dr. King put it, you gave your you gave your white peasants from Europe an economic foundation, something that black people never had. So that's why I say that poverty is the foundation. It is the root cause of criminality. Once those Irish immigrants weren't poor anymore, you don't hear about the Irish gangbangers out here. You don't hear about the Pug Uglies and the Dead Rabbits and whatever. You know, the mafia, what was J. Edgar Hoover set up here and said the mafia didn't even exist. Once Italian immigrants became accepted within American society, something that black people have never had the option to do so.
Said Black Steel. I appreciate that. I Can Fire dropped a little gem here. He said in Jamaica, we say the long cut draw sweat, but the short cut draw blood. I like that. The long cut draw sweat.
I like that. That's a bar.
Yeah. I gotta write that down. That's a good one.
The kids say you ate that. You ate that.
Yeah. Even Arthur, who is from Yard, he never knew that one. So he gave that one respect. Wardrum rejoined us. He's saying, I blame parenting for the ultimate behavior issues. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, ultimate, we need to be careful in an analysis of individualism. Some people have never tried because that's all they know. How you solve it will never be individualism. All right, food for thought. If there's no last thoughts here, I don't know if Buana's back or not. Let me see. Yeah, Buana's back. Let me just make sure. Is there any last thoughts from you, Buana?
Coco, can you hear me? No, I'm good. This is a good discussion.
All right, good. I'm gonna probably go back to StreamYard because I can't have Buana,
Yeah, we could just have to link to let me know what the yearly fee is, because it's rough, man. It's rough on me. Yeah. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. I'll cover it. I'll cover it because you donated towards it already. I'll cover the rest, but I can't have Buana on the sidelines. I got Jacadero just came in. Jacadero, how are you this week?
Blessed, very blessed, man. Peace and blessings to all. What's going on?
Good. I like that energy. I like that energy, man.
I'm eating good food. That's why it's high energy right now.
Nobody wants to eat ugali. Nobody wants to eat that.
Why not? And actually, Buana, it's not ugali. It's chapati. It's chapati today.
Chapati is the flatbread, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much it's like a flatbread, and then you can use it to eat your stew. And so I got a chickpea curry stew that I have, man. So it's making me feel very high today, very high.
Oh man, good stuff. All right. So what we'll do is we'll go to Should It Be topic number 3. I'll get Jacadero on the next topic. All right. Should It Be topic number 3 says, is Black America just Latin America with a few missing steps in the process of whitening and more discreet in interaction? That's a heavy prompt. Let me read it one more time. Shooter Breeze topic number 3 says, is Black America just Latin America with a few missing steps in the process of whitening and more discreet in interaction? This should be a good conversation. This came with 2 attachments. Let me stop sharing this one. And let me share the first one. All right, let me make sure you guys can see what I see. This prompt is taking us to Twitter. And this is a post from whatever, aka whatever. Y'all are too afraid to say y'all like light skins and NB women. What's NB? And NB women, meanwhile, Brad is fucking Umar's queens with racism riz. Oh, I guess non-black women. So y'all are too afraid to say y'all like light skins and non-black women. Meanwhile, Brad is fucking Umar's queens with racism riz. By the way, side note, did y'all see this drama that came up with Umar and his estranged daughter and all that stuff? And people calling him out on it?
Yeah, Umar's been a problem for a long time, man. He's been a problem for a long time. I saw that, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's starting to catch up. I saw he was doing a talk, and a woman in the talk like stood him up with a question like, how it is you talking about black families and black women, this and that, and you ain't married none of your children's mothers and blah, blah, blah. So it's catching up now, man. Anyway, let's get back to the post at hand. We'll watch it, and then we'll discuss it.
Another black woman. She's man. And she's alternative. Very rare poll. You gotta keep it simple. Hi, you look like you can suck the racism out of me, which is what I need right now because I'm currently on probation for a hate crime. Heart, done, send. What did I tell you? The job is not finished. You are very beautiful, though, and I would love to see you this weekend if you don't have plans. Woo! It's getting spicy! I can show you better than I can tell you. Come on, gang. Come on, gang! Okay? I like that. I like that. Lynching on the first date is crazy, not gonna lie. We gotta take baby steps. Don't get me too excited! Normally, I strap up, but I would definitely take it off for you if that's what you're implying. I'm getting crazy. I just burnt. Yeah. Are you on birth control? Nah, but I'm infertile, so I can come in you without us having to worry. Ah, okay, understandable. Just letting you know. Is a number too personal for you? Question mark. I just don't use Snap. I do this shit! Keep doubting me, bro. I dare you. I love it!
It is messing up. Oh brother. This came with a second attachment. Let me see if it's sharing with you guys. Yeah. Second attachment from Uncle Silk. It says this one's even worse. She DM'd him, calling him racist, then ended up going race play on FaceTime. Big grown woman too. Oh boy. Are these a thread? Let me just make sure the last one wasn't a thread. I'm going to play the video in a second. Just bear with me. No, last one wasn't a thread. So I'm going to play this one and then we'll discuss it. Okay, what's going on here now?
Normally we get messages. It's literally. She said, "Look, uncracker picking on black women. So let's try to cook something up." Oh look, another black queen who wants master roleplay, LMAO, and send. Over or under? Over or under? She's typing. Oh my god, she's typing. Okay. She's just playing hard to get a little bit. What's black people's favorite seasoning, would you say? What if I put some lemon pepper on it? Question mark. Would that make up for the size? Okay, she's typing. How do you know? I love lemon pepper. Come on! Who are you? Come find out. Text. I'm not on here a lot. Do you like white boys for real? Or is this like a fetish? Maybe it's a fetish. I'm okay with that, period. I decide y'all as well, TBH, so that's cool with me. Want to FaceTime or something? I'm bored. Has anyone ever do like shit or like?
No.
Really?
No, I mean, that's no.
I know we met, but how would you feel about twerking real quick? Just so I can get like an idea of like what I'm working with. Are those PSD shorts or like underwear? What is that?
No, these are the cartoon characters.
Oh, period. You know, you said like you do like specialty videos. I was thinking maybe like, would you make a video for me? You would? Okay. Let's brainstorm. Do you ever like play with like your Gucci? You?
Is that his name? Yeah.
Okay. Would you incorporate the master blade all into it or not really?
Like.
While it's like making like the sound or whatever. When it's making that sound.
Yes.
You'd be like, I'm so wet for you, Joseph, or some shit like that. So yeah, send me your link or whatever, and then whenever you make the video, I'll just send it to like my Discord, and I'll be like, bro, like this is a video like this girl made for us. If you want to watch it or whatever.
All right, not a problem.
Period.
The champ is here.
Come on! I do this shit!
Oh my. There seemed to be another video posted under this one. My computer's
no mas.
One more video, I think. No, that's the same video that we played from before. Let me just look at some of the comments. LMAO, jokes write themselves. That's wild. Who is this guy? Some racist incel guy on Instagram. Someone says, I think this is fake. I looked her up. She has an OnlyFans, and her most recent IG post is her twerking in the same outfit. This is just the two of them collaborating on content. Yeah, so let's assume that it is real. And let's have a discussion about this. Is it the case? Is Black America just Latin America with a few missing steps in the process of whitening and more discreet in interaction? That's an interesting one. Let me start with Buana on this. If Buana's still, no, Buana's not there. Let me start with Jacadero on this. Jacadero, what are your thoughts on this?
Woo! I think I need to change my name to Trigger Happy because I just became Trigger Happy watching this nonsense. Woo! I'm not sure on what to think. So the question is Black America just Latin America? This is really interesting because one of the parallels that's not talked about enough that I find with Black America is Brazil. You know, the United States blacks and the Brazilian blacks pretty much go through the same things, right? And they have been the underclass, you know, for the longest time since both countries have gained independence from their former colonizers. They often don't have much, if any, representation in modern politics. Like, I don't even think that Brazil's even had a mixed race president, let alone a black president. So is it with a few missing steps? I think it's neck and neck. It's 1-1. And I say that because the Latin American country that I've been to, and it's not really Latin America, but Mexico, I didn't see any black people, but I had always heard that there was a black population, but I didn't see them. And some could say the same when an outside a foreigner of the United States visits the United States. Like, you know, where are the black people? You know, case in point, I watch a lot of black travel YouTube, and one of the commonalities that happens when a black YouTuber from the United States visits a European country or an Asian country, is people will look at them and then ask, hey, where are you from? And then they'll say the United States. And often they say that the response is usually surprising. Like they're surprised that I'm from the United States. They think I'm either from the Caribbean or Africa. I say that to say, like, there's not necessarily, outside of entertainment, music, movies, sports, athletics, there's not too much representation of quote unquote Black America. Just like Latin America, there's not too much of a representation. So is there a whitening going on? I'd say the difference between America and Brazil, like I had compared, is that, and maybe because I live in the United States, the amount of African and Caribbean immigrants that migrate here, I grew up in the upper Midwest, and for those that don't know, I live in Omaha. I grew up in South Dakota, though, and at least in Omaha, I don't know if many of you guys know this that are listening, but Omaha is home to the largest population of South Sudanese in the United States, the largest. The last time that they did a census was 2011, I believe, and it was between 15 and 17,000. I think if they do that now, I wouldn't be surprised if that number is closer to 22, 23,000 and more coming. And that's just South Sudanese, the Somalis, right? Just any African country that is either going through some type of internal war conflict or, Nigeria, they call it Jopa, I believe, where the country's not at war, but people are saying to themselves that there's not an economic opportunity, so I'm going to leave. And I mean, we all know how many Nigerians are here. As a matter of fact, I don't know if this is still the case, but during Biden's administration, the Secretary of Treasury is a Nigerian or was a Nigerian. So I say that, is the whitening happening in the United States as far as Black America? I don't know, because again, like the amount of African and Caribbean immigrants that are migrating here is it's really, really strong. Again, I don't live in Brazil, so maybe it's there as well, but I just don't believe so. And then whenever I go to the South, I still continue to see people with my skin complexion. For those that have never seen me, I'm just as Black as, I've never seen Obama's dad, but I can only imagine Obama's dad. And I'm shouting him out because we're from the same tribe. Some would say that our villages are close to each other as well, but I digress nonetheless. Very tough video to watch, but I also will say that, these things are going to come. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but these things are going to come. You're going to find individuals that aren't necessarily race first, and sometimes it's our women, sometimes it's our men. I think earlier in this episode, when it was talking about taking up arms against neo-Nazis and how the conversation led to the Black youth of today is bombarded with negative imagery. Well, what does that create? It can create an individual where they say well, why should I be so much proud to be race first? Why? We bring up Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar was on a podcast with a current comedian from social media. I believe his name is Drewski, and Drewski was trying his hardest to get out of Umar's mental that he had relations with a non-Black woman. Even Drewski himself on a popular, he's popular. I don't know if his podcast is popular, but him himself, and it went pretty viral, him trying to get out that, Dr. Umar, there's no way that you haven't been with anybody that's not Black in your life. I just don't believe that. And, Umar, as controversial as he is, no matter what opinions that we may have of him, he stood his ground and he's like, no, the non-American that I had dealt with was a Puerto Rican, but she was Black. That is not enough. Another, again, I want to get other people's opinions on this, but I can't remember, is it John Boyega I think he played a Jedi in the Star Wars, and he was asked in one of these American women centered shows about like what type, is he single? He said he was single. And they're like, okay, what type of women do you like? And he said black women. And it was the biggest thing. It's a big deal, when we say that about ourselves. So do I believe that there's a whitening happen? I'm not on the side and leaning towards that it is. I'm actually thinking that I believe that things are actually looking up. And I believe a large part of it is because of the African and Caribbean migration.
Appreciate that, Jacadero. In the chat, Trigger Happy said it was Japa in reference to Nigeria.
Okay. Maybe we got a Nigerian on the panel. Go ahead, Trigger Happy. I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, Trigger's from Ghana.
Even better. And I appreciate Ghanaian jollof better than Nigerian jollof, Trigger Happy.
Earlier, Icon Fire said, and I like how Jacadero kind of dealt with the comment. Icon Fire said, black women are a problem in our community. Let's state the red pill. So I'm going to see if any of you want to build upon that thought or shoot it down, but I'm just putting it out there for conversation's sake. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says Latin America is basically homo swirling. They swirl with pride. Does Black America swirl at the same rate but on the low? Trigger goes on to say, I think Black America is on the trajectory of whitening. Racial segregation will probably break down and Black people will mix themselves into whiteness. In America, for sure. I think that's the trajectory. If people don't turn around now, that's where it's headed, I believe, as well. Last comment I'll point out, a shout out to Afro Native World for being here as well. Trigapi says, this is why Frances Cress Welsing is a genius, because she talked about this. Imagery is what creates a Black surrogate to increase white peoples in number. With that said, let me hear from Anthony. Anthony, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Okay. Hey, that was funny though, man. Oh, hey, look here. Cool. Number one, that prompt, I ain't gonna lie, the white boy, I hardly understood any of that mess. No, I didn't know what the hell he was saying. You know what I'm saying? But just going by what the prompt is. Okay, I'll say this here. First of all, I want to address the brother Jacadero. That was Kofi Servo, the brother from Queen Sugar. That was him who he was on the talk show, and they asked him what kind of women he liked, and he said black women, and white women lost their mind. Just like, well, what about black? He said black women are beautiful. He like, and they were like, well, what about all women are beautiful? You know what I'm saying? Just like the all lives matter thing. So it was that brother Kofi Servo, and on that part right there. But I look at it like this here. The brother also brought up the context of African people in America and African people in Brazil. Okay, I take this position right here, as far as the going on the trajectory of how you say it, Coco? Of how you say that again? Coco.
You talking about whitening, Anthony? Yeah.
Okay, the whitening.
Talking about whitening?
Okay, all right. Okay, this is what I say. Okay, let's hold them side by side, the two dynamics, the Africans in the United States and the Africans in Brazil. I think that, okay, now the Africans in Brazil, they had a policy. This was an active policy. We're going to bring millions and millions of Europeans here to help whiten up this country because we were too many black people. Black was in the majority then. But what happened with them was, okay, they brought a lot of Europeans and they encouraged intermarriage between Africans and Europeans. But what happened was was this here? Oh yeah, a lot of people. They had a lot of mixed children came out of there. There was a lightening of the complexions. But what happened was the Africans in Brazil, even though they intermarried, a lot of them intermarried, and they had, and you begin to see all these different colors, and they had all kind of titles for them, for these different colors, these of the racial spectrum. But what happened was they maintained their culture. Because like if you go to Brazil right now, especially in Bahia, Salvador Bahia, but really everywhere in most of Brazil where black people live at, they've maintained a lot of their culture. Now on the flip side, the Africans in the United States, what happened is, well, see, they brought Europeans here too to help whiten the country. But because of the Jim Crow laws and because of like at that particular time, say around the 1890s, where they was bringing a lot of those European immigrants, 90%, over 90%, probably the majority, almost all of black people live in one area, in the southern part of the United States. From Texas, to Florida. We all lived here. And then you got the fact then they had the Jim Crow laws and segregation and all of that. So for the longest period of time, even on up to the 60s and 70s, when a lot of black people had started moving out west to California, up to Chicago, and to other places. For the longest period of time, ethnic, like racially, we was kept intact. But what we did was the opposite of what the Africans in Brazil did. We started losing the culture. Now we still got it, but we started losing more of our culture. Where the Africans in Brazil started losing a lot of their racial composition, but maintained the culture. We kept our racial composition, but we started losing the culture, and which leads now to the point where we in danger of going that same way because we ain't thinking because we had our African mind. You know what I'm saying? We don't think like now we got Negroes running around talking about I ain't from Africa. Talking about I'm indigenous. I seen some jokers talking about the slave trade was in reverse. You know what I'm saying? With all these kind of crazy ass ideas, that's spreading. And I'm not saying that that's the majority of us, but I'm saying, but they speak with such a big voice that they influence a lot of other people. Man, I even had y'all know my homeboy, David, who's Dr. Collins' son. We was talking one day, and he had kind of mentioned, man, I don't believe all black people came from Africa. He was talking about we was already here. I had to sit down and talk to him about this, man. I say, man, where you get this bitch from? You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that kind of thing, it's those talking points are becoming prevalent. In a lot of spaces, man. You see it on YouTube all the time. Man, I get so sick and tired of seeing this shit now. I'm seeing so much of this indigenous shit. You know what I'm saying? And so it's anything other than to be African. Like I said, we had our damn African mind. We don't want nothing to do with it. And when you get to that point, what's the next step? The next step is bleaching, straightening your hair, and all this wearing contacts and all those kind of stuff. And then marrying white folks, getting involved with white folks, and and having half white children, mixed race children. And the next thing you start to look like Argentina. You know what I'm saying? Argentina had a whole bunch of black people at one time. You know what I'm saying? And through through interracial marriage and war and all that kind of stuff, they were successful in breeding out the African population. And I think that with us, we in danger of going through the same thing because not necessarily, it's because of our mind state, man. Because of our lack of consciousness. I think it's our lack of consciousness. And another thing I want to say before I knock off all the brothers, it's in Mexico, those Africans in Mexico, they down like in Veracruz, man. Down in the coastal region. There's a whole bunch of them too, man. So I mean, I think Mexico has probably about anywhere from like 2 to 3 million, African Mexican. Then a whole lot of people who got African heritage to them. So they there. They there. We went on a vacation there, man, and I got a chance to see a lot of black people. So we there. But yeah, man, I think we on that trajectory, but it's because of it's because of our mind state, man. I mean, I don't think we there. We're not there yet, but it's because of our mind state, man. You know, and this whole associating ourselves with our roots, man, with Africa. You know, we've been there in this country for some 400 years. So 400 years, and you know, it is a lot to go through for people, you know, to maintain the culture, you know, and their roots, the heritage, you know, with all of the external things that they got to deal with. But yeah, man, I don't think we're there yet. I think we can still turn it around. But yeah, we in danger of it though, and I'll knock off right there, man.
Yeah, well done there, Anthony. Yeah, and I I agree with you. You might not quite be there yet, but in short time too, you will be there. And I like what you said at the end that you said, listen, black folks been in America now, what, 400 going on 500 years. You've been put upon by these white folks. It's hard to maintain your roots under these circumstances. It is very hard to maintain them, and the longer you go away from your roots, the harder it'll be to maintain it, and you will be consumed. And that's something that we have to really get serious about too. You will be consumed. With that said, I think Buana is here. Let me see. Buana, can you hear me? Buana, are you there? Yeah, look like we're having trouble with Buana. So let me go to Black Steel in the meantime. Black Steel, Shooter Breeze topic number 3 says, is Black America just Latin America with a few missing steps in the process of whitening and more discreet in interaction? What say you?
Nah, I don't think so. I'm gonna be the oddball out here. I don't think so. And I'm gonna say why I don't think so. So first of all, this is nothing new. White men been messing with black women for a long time. A lot of quiet is kept, right? A lot race play, fetishizing of whiteness. Because think about it, we live in an anti-black society. We have a hierarchy. Who's at the top of that hierarchy? White men, white women, right? So therefore, many people who aspire to have the best available mate, they want to go who, in their mind, who they perceive as the man, which is the white man, or the woman, the white woman. We hear it a lot with black people, black men particularly. You know, what did Kanye say? When he get on, he leave the ass for a white girl, right? You see a lot of black players in the NBA get a white woman, but we don't really see the inverse of it as much with black women, although it does exist. We don't really hear about it, but it's been going on for a long time, right? There was a whole movie about it with Sanaa Lathan. She called it Something New, which I absolutely hate that movie, because ain't nothing new about white men fucking black women. Nothing new about that at all. But where I think the United States and Latin America differ is that, for one, in Latin America, the Spanish and the Portuguese, they didn't mind marrying black women. In British America, or the 13 colonies or whatever, white men would fuck black women, but they wouldn't marry them. And any offspring that they had with black women were still slaves, right? So they would still be enslaved people, even though they may have a white father. That didn't change their condition of enslavement. You might have a situation where a white man might feel some sort of affection for his children, and he might send them to a free state so they get an education. You could have a white man like Thomas Jefferson, who put his black children, his mixed race children, in the fields with the rest of the other Negroes. So I think that in the United States, historically speaking, there was no policy to acclimate, to create like a mixed race class. So like in Latin America, mixed race people have their own classification. Whereas in America, because of the one drop rule, there's no mixed race separate class. If you have black, you're black. If you got enough black that we can tell that you have from black in you, you black. So there's no space for that. Whereas in Latin America, they actually had a policy. They gave it a name, Blancamiento. You know, the whitening of the race. You know, mejor la raza, improve the race. So it was a stated government policy. So just like Jacadero mentioned in Brazil, the same thing happened in Dominican Republic. In the DR, they brought in a lot of Portuguese people, even Jewish people. They brought them in to lighten up the population of the country. So I just said only because the difference is that even though there are many black people who aspire to whiteness, they have the African features and they want to be white. I think the difference is that there's a stated policy within the government and within the people that to improve themselves. There's a famous painting from Brazil called The Redemption of Ham, and I know many have seen it, but it shows a black woman giving thanks to God that her mixed race daughter has married a white man, and then her grandchild is even lighter than her. So the stain of black, what is Ham's, going back to biblical times, Ham being the son of Noah. So when after God flooded the world, God saved Noah and his 3 sons. Noah got drunk, maybe celebrating he just survived the fucking end of the world. He gets drunk, passes out. His son Ham and his son Canaan gaze upon Noah and his nakedness. So when Noah awakens from his drunken stupor, he curses Canaan. So this is just really backstory for those who don't know the story of Ham in the Bible. So there are those who believe that Ham and Canaan was cursed to be a servant of servants. Ham was cursed with dark skin. Now this is not in the Bible, but people take shit, add shit, whatever. So Ham's curse was dark skin. So the redemption of Ham was that black people are becoming lighter, right? They're losing the black stain of sin, which is a result of Ham's sin, and now they're become light skinned. I don't think that America has ever had a policy where they want to improve the race. They actually, now another thing again, being mixed race offers no benefits to black Americans, never have. Whereas in Latin America, being mixed race puts you in a different strata of society. So Latin America was divided. You have native born Spaniards, you have Spaniards who were born in Latin America, you have mixed race, you have mestizos, mulattoes. At the very bottom, you got indigenous people and Africans. So if you integrate, you have a mixed race child, you're born mixed race, your child is elevated in status within the Latin American society historically. Within Black America, there were no benefits. You were still a nigga no matter who you married, who your daddy was, who your mama was. You still be treated as a black person. That was in Jim Crow and throughout. So I'll go ahead. I've said my piece. I'm sure there'll be some responses, but thank you, Koku.
No, good stuff, man. Good stuff. This is why we're here. We here to express ourselves and share ideas and viewpoints and stuff. So it's all good stuff. Afro Native World makes the point that this would be a good topic for Ditso to chime in on, but as you deduce, Ditso is not here tonight. Interestingly enough, maybe he's listening. He'll tune in. He'll come up. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says Black Steel. There may have not been a policy, but every white society has thought about it. Thomas Jefferson devised a plan to eliminate black people through mixing. Black Steel, you want to respond to that?
You know what? The idea that black people could be bred out of existence. I think one thing is possible, right? But I think one thing I just want to say is that I think interracial dating and relationships are really overblown. Most black people marry within their own race. This is a fact. There's been a lot of talk about interracial dating and whatnot. But I think like 93% of Black women, when they marry within their race, and it's like 80-something%. So the thing is that Black people tend to be, they don't tend to be desired by other races that much. And I say this, I'm kind of saying this kind of tongue in cheek. A lot of reasons that Black women, the story is said that Black women are race loyal, right? And they don't date outside their race the same way Black men do, is because they're loyal to Black people. I would say that the reason Black women don't date as much outside their race as Black men do is that Black women are genuinely seen by other races as undesirable for marriage. They might be good for a smash. You can knock it off your chart. Oh, I fucked a Black girl. But when it comes to a long-term relationship, Black women tend to be seen as less desirable than women of other races. The people who date outside their race more than anybody are Asian women. Asian women are highly sought after because of the stereotypical view of Asian women being submissive and kind. Black women don't have those stereotypes about them. What are Black women? They're loud, they're aggressive, they're masculine. So usually Black women aren't desired by other races of men, especially white men. You just be honest, it's white men they going after. Black men are seen desirable because we tend to be more masculine and physically imposing more so than white men. But again, same thing. Overall, most people interracially are trying to date white men. So white people don't really have the incentive to breed Black people out, and Black people genuinely are not accepted as Asian people when it comes to interracial dating. So I don't think, as far as Black people disappearing, especially within the United States, I don't see that happening. Not within any future time. That's just me. My thoughts on it. I don't really see that happening. Black people just tend to basically stick with each other because we really all we got. You will see more mixed race people existing. I don't think it's going to be have the numbers to replace us completely.
I appreciate that, Black Steel. Looks like we got Buana back. Let's see if it's work. Buana, hold on. Buana, can you? Well, every time I go to Buana, he drops off. I gotta ask Buana a question because I need to know if I'm gonna go back to StreamYard, and as expensive as that is, I gotta know that your internet is not the culprit here, Buana. Buana, can you hear me now? Yeah, every time I go to Buana, he drops.
That boy Buana on dial up.
While Buana figures
Buana's using coconuts for internet access, man. Come on.
Every time you pick up the phone, you can disconnect.
Some Gilligan's Island. But I want to ask a question based on, now two comments. Because I think that I believe we give passes sometimes. And I'll say this, I believe we give passes to Black men, and I think we give passes to Black women too. But I want to touch on something that two people in the chat said. Hold on. I had one up. I thought KW Don 7 is out there. Peace to KW Don 7. He says Black women have a lot more undercover relations with Yurugu than they are willing to admit. I said it on Shoot the Breeze a couple years ago, and people was in an uproar. I forget it was me and someone else echoed the thought too. And I said, like, in America, a lot of Black women are quietly really interested in this white boy. They deal with Black men because that's what's available. But a lot of Black, and you ain't got to do much but just sit down and observe. And I'm not saying that there's not a lot of black men who want this white woman too, but I'm talking a lot of black women are into that. And so KW Don 7 said that, and I Can Fire said something earlier. I'd like to hear what you guys and the chat thinks of this comment. He said, at this point, we have to physically conquer our black women like the Muslims. Now, first I'll ask, how do you guys interpret that? How do you guys interpret that? Bakari said and shout out to Brother Bakari, he said, if it's undercover, how do you know? Because people give you the signs. People show in talk and how they react to certain things. You could tell. You could tell. Just like when black folks say so and such is invited to the cookout. You could tell. You could tell how these folks be thinking. But going back to the I Can Fire comment and KW Dawn statement, however you interpret it, let us know. I'm throwing it to the panel. How do you interpret those thoughts, and what are your comments to it? Let me start with Jacadero.
Yeah, great question. I think the question was, are black women having more undercover interracial relationships? I guess I don't know. I'll say this, that this is a clear man and woman thing, I believe, is that when it comes to economics, when a man, regardless of race, increases his wealth and or his income, he has more options just across the board. And then when a woman does, it seems that she doesn't have as many. In fact, she might feel that she has less options because she wants somebody to make more than her, have more resources than her. There was a clip on the internet this week where a black woman was discussing on how where she's at financially, she's not even entertaining anybody regardless of race if they make less than her. And I say to that, like, if black women are having undercover interracial relationships, this is not to show sympathy at all, but could it be that those black women are in spaces where they just feel that the ones that are financially, economically better than them, there's not that many black men in those spaces? I also want to add that, is there something to counter this? Yeah. One of the things that is pretty popular on social media right now is the Pop the Balloon or Find Love show with Arlette Amuli. And one of the things that you right away notice is that this is a black-centered show. They don't come out and say it, but there hasn't been, I don't believe, a white person on the show. It's a dating show where, the contestants pop a balloon, and if they don't find what the other gender is portraying. So I say that there are counters for this if black women are doing that. And again, I'm going to relate it back to, I think this is a man and women thing, just regardless of race and ethnicity, is that men, when they level up financially, they have more options, versus women, they feel like there's not as many options. And then if you want to bring race into it, it's like, well, how many black guys are in that space?
Appreciate that, Jacadero. Let's see if we can get. I'm curious to hear what Anthony and Black still have to say to this, but let me see if I can get Buana in. Buana, can you hear me? Yeah, I kind of give up on
Buana needs Elon Starlink internet. I know that he might have his reservations, but I don't know what we can do, man.
Yeah. But same question thrown to Anthony. Anthony, based on what you saw, those two comments, what's your interpretation of it, and what's your thoughts on it?
Okay. All right. Let me see how I'm gonna say this. Okay. First of all, Coco, let me say this to you and to the brothers in the chat who said what they said. Look, okay, like you said, this is a show where we discuss things. Now, no, I have my opinion. All of us have our opinion. And so we put our opinions out there and we talk about it. Okay, let me say this. All right, I think that it's equal equality. To me, I think as far as I don't think black women pursue interracial things any more than black dudes do. If you look at, okay, I think it's equal. That's what I'm saying. I think it's even Steven. I ain't even in it for the count who's doing it the most. To me, it's the fact that you're doing it. Period. It's detrimental to our community. That's what I look at. I don't care who's in the league. Yeah, I don't care who's in the.
No, exactly.
Yeah, I don't care.
Just interject. I'm not trying to put it on black women over black men. I'm just telling you what I've observed, and if you're a man who's out here, you will observe it too, and I observe it more with women and with men. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I got you, Coco. And believe, I mean, it wasn't a pushback, but what I'm saying is this right here. All right, just recently you had what? Let's look at the media. Go on the media, what we see on TV. Just recently you had this brother who was with the white girl or whoever, whatever she was, who got killed. And what he was saying, how he rather mess with a dog than mess with a sister. Okay, and then remember a few years ago before that, you had the brother who was messing with the Asian girl. Remember the police ran up the yard and killed them, and they got tweets and he was saying the same kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? So through the media, when I look at it, and you can't just trust the media for everything, but I'm saying through the media, most of the time you see it. It's like in entertainment, it's in all sports. You got a whole bunch of these brothers up here with white wives. You know what I'm saying? I was just looking at a commercial on TV the other day. You got this the dude, the one play Fred Warner, played for the San Francisco 49ers. They had a commercial, with him and his ambiguous wife, Latino or something, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's an image that they always showing, that they always putting a black man with a white woman, and vice versa. Sisters with white men. I think that to me, I think it's across the board. It's across the board. It's a problem. And I also want to go back to this, like the brother Black Steel said. Now, I was just looking up the stats and everything, and I've been keeping up with it for a minute. Nearly 80% of black men and women date black men and women, or marry black men and women. No, we marry within ourselves. Yes, we got that 20+%, who delve into white women, to white people and other people, whatever. We live in a country where we 14, 15% of the population, you know what I'm saying? You got 66% of the population white. I mean, I'm just saying, I ain't justifying none of that bullshit. But what I'm saying is, obviously, somewhere it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You got economic conditions, social, all kind of things, with the mental side that's among our people of thinking that black is ugly or black is bad, and white is better, the white man's ice is colder, the white woman's ice is cold or whatever. No, this is something that's gonna happen in a country like this. It's gonna happen. But I just say that, okay, yeah, where you at, you might see a lot of sisters doing that. Where I'm at, it's mostly brothers doing that. It's sisters down here who do that too. You know what I'm saying? But to me, I look at the bigger picture to me, and I say that it don't matter to me, and this is not nothing against anybody. It just, to me, it don't matter if more sisters do it or more brothers do it. It's the fact that we're doing it, period. You know what I'm saying? That's a detriment to our people, because the basis of building a nation, of building a nation of people is what? The family. And it takes black men and black women to make black families. And it takes black families to make a black nation, wherever we are, here in America, in the diaspora, anywhere. So, so I ain't gonna prolong, man, but I think it's more balance and that, it's a 50-50 thing. Let's look at it like that. It's a 50-50 thing. And it's a thing that ain't good, regardless of who's doing it. It ain't good for us as a people. And I'm knock off right there, Coco.
Coco, can you hear me?
Good stuff. Yeah.
Good.
Go ahead, Juan.
Yeah. So I'm listening to this discussion. First of all, let me say, Jacadero. I don't know if you've read the news recently, but Starlink, a lot of that garbage crash landed in the Bahamas. A lot of this, it fell from the sky, so it's creating a lot of internet disruption for some reason, man. I blame Elon Musk personally.
So that's your excuse. That's your so last. You're okay.
I'll allow it.
I like that.
I'll allow it, bro. I'll allow it.
I like that.
I'll allow it.
Buana, that is good. That is really, really good. You should be a lawyer. That is really good.
I am, but let me say this though. Okay, so what the brothers say, I can't speak for what's happening in America, but what's happening in Nassau, Bahamas is the exact opposite. Because there's a blackening, y'all say whitening. There's a black women. Let me tell you something, brother. White women come to the Bahamas to get pregnant, man. They used to come just to have sex, but they want a black baby, bro. And they finding the first dreadlocks guy they can find to get that DNA. I understand whatever the issues is over there, but that's not my experience. I gotta tell you, the first thing off of the plane, judges, lawyers, heads of state, they want a black baby, bro. If you see the actresses, like Hollywood actresses, look in their catalog, man. Madonna, them, all of them wanted a black baby. They go to Africa, they go to the Caribbean. They want a black baby. You know what I mean? They want that DNA. So I don't know. I can't speak for what's happening there, but I'm telling you, man, these women, soon as they come off of Delta Airlines and things like that, they looking for the first black man they can find, the blackest guy to get that DNA. I'm telling you, man. I am telling you. It's maybe because they're lonely. Maybe because you can say because you should chop it up to sex one day. So they just want sexual tourism. No, it's going beyond that now. They want that DNA. They want that color in their genes. So just as some brothers ask the black women why they doing what they do, you gotta ask doing, because now it's a blackening. It's a blackening process. But it's been that, in the Caribbean and in Africa. The first thing they trying to find is a dread on the beach. So I don't know. Maybe we could talk about that as well. Implement that in the conversation. I don't know. Can y'all brothers still hear me? Am I still being heard? God damn, I don't think I'm being heard.
Yeah, we can.
No, I can hear you just fine, man.
No, we can. All right. One of you there. All right. Wanna cut out. Bakari is here. BBN Network. But Bakari, how are you this week? I think there's a delay too. That doesn't help this. Bakari, you there? All right. I can't get them. I can't hear them. But I'm by the way, I'm showing on the screen video that was posted in the Bahamas of whatever they launched from Elon Musk Starlink. It broke up in the sky, and this is the debris we saw over our heads in the Bahamas. So just to back up what Buana was saying a second ago. BBN Network, but Bakari says it doesn't work well with his phone either. So it's like I'm back to StreamYard again. Once I go back to StreamYard, I can't accept no complaints about can't connect, because that's all the streaming services I know. So just to let y'all know. By the way, while I have this moment, let me just remind you guys, this is episode 190. We're 10 episodes shy of 200 episodes. That's a big deal. I talked about it at the start of the show. Thank you. That's a big deal, but that's all of us. That's all of us. 200 weeks, more or less straight. Cause I miss a week here or there, but for the most part, 200 weeks. That's a big deal, and I'd like for us to come up with some ideas. I'll bring it up again next episode and the next after that. What should we do in celebration of the 100th episode of the show? So drop your comments in the chat, email me, hit me up on Discord if you have some fly ideas for what to do for 200 episodes. So I just want to put that out there. 200 episodes. That's a big deal.
Big deal. So,
go ahead.
a couple weeks ago, Juana made a comment because I was coming back from Disney celebrating my son's birthday, right? So I want to take Juana to Space Mountain, okay, for our 200 episode. I'm joking. But congratulations, man. That's quite a milestone. But I'm sorry. I want to.
So if you guys could think of anything, go ahead.
All right. No, there's a delay. So one thing about it is that somebody mentioned about black women. See, it's true. A lot of black women are getting them cheeks cracked by white dudes. It's not anything new. They're not very vocal with it because usually the white men don't want anything more than just physical relationships. But if you look on, y'all are young people online speaking about how to date a white man. One woman said that you can't treat white men the way. First, you say you can't put white men through the same stuff we put black men through. So black women are actually becoming. They actually are trying to, alter the stereotype. Now they don't mind altering that stereotype. They don't mind with black men, but for white men, because they see white men as more valuable. I'm not saying all. There's a subset of black people, black women who see white men as somehow being better. Just like there's black men who see white women as automatically being better. I see that with a lot of young people. Had a boy tell me the other day, I want a snow bunny. Where the snow bunny's at? I said, excuse me? Ain't you black? Well, he said he was black and Puerto Rican. So in his mind, his desire for a snow bunny, I don't know how to take it. He said he wanted a snow bunny. Black girl tell me, oh, I don't date dark skins. I don't like dark. I don't like them black. So these young people already, because they're receiving the media indoctrination and the cell phones and everything else, they're already internalizing this anti-blackness. So they're saying even in their teenage years, their desire to date outside their race because they see that as being better somehow. Black women are not immune to that. I see a lot more. Growing up, I gotta say, when you saw a sister with a white dude, it turned your head because you didn't really see that much. At least growing up when I was a kid, I'm 43. So I didn't see that. A black woman dating a white man? Huh? We don't see that very often. We see black men doing it, but we didn't see that. But now that's becoming more. You see, go into a grocery store, you see a beautiful sister with some scummy meth head, a drug addict, right, dude, right? And it's like, what is going on here? The same. If a black man was at that level, they wouldn't look at him twice. But the fact that he's a white man overrides all his negative characteristics. Same thing with black men. You see the biggest, bummiest, dirtiest white woman with a brother who he stays in the gym like a perfect physical specimen. But he wouldn't look at a big black woman, but a big white woman gets a pass because her whiteness allows you to overlook all the other negative stuff. But black people, black men, and black women are susceptible to the same propaganda that everyone else is. So if there's a lot more sisters out here taken. I mean, think about it. Think about it. In the United States, right? Miscegenation, interracial marriage was illegal until the 1967 Supreme Court case, Loving versus Virginia. Loving, the two Lovings was a black woman and a white man. Took it all the way to the Supreme Court to get their marriage legalized. So don't think that these black women ain't the ones out here swirling too. It goes both ways. They're just a lot more, quiet about it. But every now and then they'll let it slip. What was that one black woman on Fox Sports, Joy Taylor? Bad sister. She's out here messing with white dudes. Not only was she messing with, yes. Not only was she messing with the white dude, she sat up here and said that when she got tired of messing with the white dude, she was gonna say he raped her. So that way she wouldn't lose her position.
Yep.
Nasty work.
Nasty work. Yeah, man. Joy Taylor. Hey man, that's a really good discussion. I'm sorry we couldn't get Bakari in and Buana's in and out. But to you guys who are on the panel with me, you guys know I thoroughly enjoy you guys' company. Black Steel is my man from a long time ago. Anthony actually came to the podcast from when Black Steel and I used to do the book club stuff. And Jacadero's been around for ages as well. So, shout out to all of y'all for such a great conversation. And shout out to the chat, man. You guys are doing your thing. I'm glad to see you guys can have those side conversations, and have a good time doing it. With that said, though, we're not on StreamYard anymore. We're on this other one, Restream. And I posted the link. It's pinned to the top of the chat. But I'll post it again. I'll post it again in the chat. By the way, let me shout out some people. I haven't seen Cheryl tonight. Hope she's well. Shout out to her. Shout out to Provide Triggers, who's here. Shout out to Marcus McGee. Haven't seen you in a minute, bro. Shout out to Kevin Carre. Zuli was in the chat earlier. Shout out to Dorico Cooper. I emailed Dorico and I haven't heard back. I hope he's well. But shout out to all of you guys who I haven't seen in a while, who were regular members around here. And shout out to Marcus Gavies. Look at that. She's saying big ups from out there in the chat. So shout out to you too, sis. I'm glad to see you around as well. She says, good night, interesting discussion. So, we're going to end around 11, maybe just a little after. This next topic is a topic I really want to discuss. And this one, I don't usually do this, but this one is from Anthony because I think it's a really good discussion. So I want to share it with you guys. And I'm going to speed up the video a little bit so it doesn't go too long. But Shoot the Breeze topic number 4 is, why do African people buy into the Christian concept of the serpent representing evil when in Africa the snake is a positive symbol? I like this one, Anthony. This one takes us to YouTube. Let me share my screen with you guys. This takes us to YouTube. Make sure you guys can see my screen. All right, there we are. So we're going to watch this, and then we'll discuss.
Okay. Okay. So, we have to touch it. Come on. Just touch. No. I don't. No.
This where snakes are not. Have you ever heard of where snakes are not feared but worshipped as sacred beings who are worshipped? And you know what's even more scary? There is a specific day in the week that they are released onto the environment so people can get to it. Stay tuned and let's go on this adventure of exploring African cultures. Welcome to Spirituality and culture intertwine in the most fitting way. Now, it is mind-boggling on how negative or necessary good things about African culture tend to spread at a very fast rate. And I have made it my business to explore Africa and to narrate to you the stories of what a country is. When I would share to people that I'm planning to visit Benin, especially West Africans from other countries, their first concern was issues to do with voodoo and spirituality. But I didn't let that limit me, because I have to be so grateful that I got to appreciate this country and know that it has so much more to offer, and appreciate the much development that's ongoing. Anyway, my name is Queen Desta, and I travel to show you the beautiful continent, as well as inspire you to explore our continent and just get on the ride. Today we have taken a public transport so we can go and explore this city that I'm told has so much spirituality and voodoo things ongoing. With that, I am very keen to know, would visit this town? Would you visit a place that you have been told that apparently snakes would actually be walking on the streets and you should not bother touching them or harming them, or even offer some form of respect? Well, come with me, because this was definitely out of my comfort zone.
So I made it to this. Please take photos. Photos, please.
We listen, but we don't judge. This was me asking a colleague to actually take photos, because I had quit to think that I'm actually going inside to see the snakes. But I gained some courage, and I was like, guys, we can do this, so let's do it.
I made it to this. I can't go inside. So I made it to this temple, and I'm just seeing photos of this snake, and I'm asking, why am I going inside? No. We have to wash our hands to be able to go inside this temple.
After gaining courage washing my hands, I get to be told about this snake temple being one of the most sacred places in Ouida and even Benin. Here, snakes, particularly the python, considered messengers of the gods, and locals believe these snakes bring good fortune, protection, and blessings. And let's hear from the guide.
The name of this city is Ouida. It is because of the mispronunciation of white people. I mean, French people. That's why it has become Ouida that way.
Okay.
You get it. English people, they say Ouida.
Oh.
Portuguese people, they used to Ajuda. Spanish and the Hollanders people, they say Peida or Frida. If not, the real name is Ouida. Ouida. Kingdom of Ouida.
Okay.
Alright, in front of you, you have an hero portrait, and it has more than 400 years old. You know, and it is to touch the priest with your left hand, and you're gonna make your wish.
If you wish to make a wish to visit Benin, joking, but if you want to visit Benin, I do have an itinerary in the description box that can help you explore this country with so much ease. Otherwise, let's explore the snake experience.
When did they start worshipping the snake?
Yeah, since 13th century.
13th century.
Yeah, because the Britain protect them from the enemies, and they need to protect the crops. Also, that's why they worship the python.
Okay. Yeah. So people even now they worship the python. What does that worship look like?
I said that we recognize them by the scarification. They captain.
Yeah, no, like I'm thinking, worship Allah, they do pray. How?
Alright, you mean, for example, if those people that worship God now, they touch every Sunday.
Yes.
So here also, if you are a worshipper of the party, you must come here every 5 days.
Every 5 days?
Yeah, every market day. People
okay.
Come here for the pray. So
when is the market day?
It will be
tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, this particular room, alright, today is is market day.
Oh, today's
That's
the.
why it's open.
Oh, okay.
As I told you, every market day, those people who are worshippers want to pray. If you are not a worshiper, and if you want to pray here, that may Python bless you, you know, you can come here and bring a ticket and kill it because the Lord, in order to be powerful,
okay,
that's why I can come here and we kill it here. And the one person that they allow to come and take the heads for that goat, his name is Goat.
The one.
Yes, when he is not around, the firstborn, I mean, is the first one will come and take the heads and they kill. You get it?
Yeah.
In this wither here we have 447 divinity. Here is the capital of Voodoo. That's why every 10th of January we organize Voodoo Day. Voodoo Festival, you remember that?
Yeah.
And all over the world they come here to celebrate that.
Okay.
This one it's gonna be start from 9 to 11, 3 days.
So.
January. Yes.
So the worship of the snake is another. The worship of the snake is another form of voodoo.
Yeah. It's a god. You get it?
I get it.
Every 7 years we find 41 virgin girls.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the river and fresh water come for the king, and they will put this pot outside. The pot's name is Zengben. Zengben have more than 200 years old. That is the process that follow. You know, but today now you will notice that it's very difficult to virgins.
Yeah. Really?
That's why we find menopause woman.
Oh, okay.
Now that's going to a river and fresh water come, and we put inside the pots outside, and we purify all the temple of Wida and the city of Wida.
The water will be splashed everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, to purify the city.
All the temple of Wida.
Okay.
You know, it is actually forbidden to kill a python. When you kill a python, it's an abomination. You get it? And if you kill it with acid, you come here to purify you inside that room that you are saying.
Okay. They will crucify. Purify. Okay. You go inside the tree. Purify.
You didn't do that, something must happen to you, surely. Get it?
What if the person does not know? Maybe you are driving, the snake is passing, you climb and don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. That one is
it's different.
Okay. What about python dangerous animals?
No, they're harmless. They don't have
so they don't attack people?
No, they don't have it.
So if I see a python walking here, what should I do?
No,
nothing. I let it.
If you are not a worshipper, because a worshipper, they have the rule.
Yeah.
So when they see, for example, here in Wida, once a month, we open the door for the python, they go to the town. Yes, they go to the town.
Are there many?
Many. We have more than 100. Very soon. You see, we open the door for them, and they go to the town, and they eat a rat, insect.
Oh my goodness.
Once they finish, they come back by themselves.
God.
Yes, when you see the python in your house, it's like a blessing for you.
So did you guys hear that? Because me, I'm already I'm thinking that one day I'm just walking.
So, the duration of the python is 40, 50 before they die.
Okay.
Once they die, we bury them here. Here is the cemetery of the python.
Okay, that's
it. Initiated people are not initiated, you cannot go there.
No, okay. So women don't go.
Yeah, if you are a woman and you are initiated.
Okay. Oh, okay.
This one is for the protection for the temple. Protect the temple. You know, you will also notice that we have the Catholic Church front of the Python temple.
Yeah.
That means that we practice both together.
Okay.
We are allowed to go to the church in the morning
Yeah.
and practice Vodou in the evening time.
Okay, so you go to church in the morning,
Yes.
then you come for doing.
That's why we have the capital front of
Ahead of it. Interesting. Don't they contradict?
Sorry?
Don't they contradict? Because one thing that Christianity says is, do not worship any other God but me. So then you come in the evening. Yeah.
But according to we who are inside Vodou,
yeah,
we know that there's no difference. We are together.
Okay.
Together. So the python, they don't have a teeth, no poison. They are harmless. Cannot bite, no teeth, nothing.
Okay.
So don't be
So they don't
scared. No, don't be scared.
I'm scared.
Relax.
I'm already scared.
We touch together, don't worry.
I won't touch.
Don't worry. Very soon I will bring it to one and we go and wash our hands with the water.
Okay.
Eyes up in
So in my life, I'm so afraid of reptiles, be it chameleon, be it lizards. You guys have already seen I run away from lizards and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And now they want me to wash my hands and touch snakes. No. So
you are going to wash your hands with your two hands.
of my hand, my two hands. Okay.
One, you can see that. So as I
Don't come closer. I'm so scared.
don't worry.
Okay.
As I told you, those people that worship the python, they often mark in their face.
Yeah, so
once you look at it now, you see 5 walls here. 5 walls. You see?
1, 2, 3. I can see 3.
And the ones you see in the other side, you see 5.
Yeah.
That means that they also have 10 mark, like this man.
Yes.
They have the scarification. It's the worshiper.
Okay.
So first of all, before we put it in your neck, we have to touch it. Come and touch it. Just touch
No.
it before.
I don't want to put it on my neck.
Don't worry, you just touch like this, you see.
I don't want to put it on my neck.
The head is here.
Shit. No, I'm not touching it. I refuse. I am very scared of lizards, everything in the reptile category.
No poison, it cannot bite.
Either way, no.
You see?
Yeah. I just want to come and see for myself it's true.
Just take your hand, souvenir.
Ha! No, I'm okay. So, see how he's just like the snake. So they say in this room there's like 100 of them. Count me out. You see how afraid she is. Me, I can't even risk. No, thank you. I don't have the courage. I don't have the confidence. Can see it there. There they are. There, like so many. Nope. See. Gaining confidence. Let's go. It's so pretty. Oh my goodness. See, they're everywhere. Do you have more confidence than I do? Because let me tell you, even editing this, I'm just being like, oh my god, why would I go there? But anyway, I do travel with an open mind, but this one was a big one. But I mean, have your own experience. But as you can see, this is us outside the whole experience. There in the temple, the church is directly opposite. Immediately, just very opposite whole experience. Then we found this other place because I really wanted to calm down that whole experience. So we saw like this museum, and that's why I keep saying if you want an itinerary very well planned, like I can definitely help you out with that, and then can get all the cool things and all cool spots to go to experience. If you have questions on your trip, you can always feel free to reach out to me, and I can answer your questions as you continue on with the experience. Listen, I'm still scared even from watching this video, and I'm just saluting you for making it to this part of the video. I'm feeling so sorry to the tour guide because really not pleased with us for not being able to fully participate in, like touching or even like having the snake on your shoulder or stuff like this. But me, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm sorry, forgive me, but I ain't doing it that much courage. I'm still in a space that I'm questioning or asking a question of why I have been exposed to this information and how I can be of help and what understand do I have to bring to this equation. But I'd like to hear what are some of the reflection on this discussion. Let me know what you think in the comment section. One, they do respect our people is for sure. There was no time they ever did things stupidly with no specific, not to say who you should or should not worship, but just to put that out there. Anyway, this museum place had really good art, and it was just a good place to, like appreciate African art. Apart from that, there's a place saying about our culture and who we are as a people, and actions that should continue being heard of how we can be better even as Black people. Anyway, if you need more details,
I let that video play out because with the accents played at 1.5 speed didn't sound very, very good. But I want to point out, you notice at the end, she said we as Black people, and that Africans and Koreans don't call themselves Black is just nonsense. But the other thing I want to point out too is when you watch that video, I can't speak for everyone, but I'd like to say to everyone, you're supposed to be able to connect with what you saw in that video. Even the surroundings and stuff reminded me of parts of my hometown when I was growing up. Like you're supposed to connect with that, man. To not connect with that to me is an insanity, or as the good doctor would say, it's a menticide, if you will. Like it's crazy not to be able to connect with what you just saw there in that conversation. But it was a good conversation, and I'd like to see what my panelists have to say about it. But by the way, let me call out Azuli. Azuli, you come on up because you and I had conversations about the snake in the past, and you know a lot more about voodoo than I do. So come on up, join this last discussion before we head out tonight. With that said, let me jump right in. Let me talk to Jacadero. Jacadero, what did you see there that stood out? Why do we follow Christianity in terms of the serpent being evil when it meant something different to us?
Great question. This was an awesome video to see. I'm surprised I didn't come across this myself. It sounds like the woman has a Kenyan accent, so I'm even more impressed because it's not too often that I find Kenyans venturing off into Western Africa, especially a place like Benin, where it has that controversial festival. Myself, I want to go to Benin because of this festival. And then, as you can see, even beyond the festival, they still have townships that are dedicated to voodoo customs. All right, so the question is, why does snake veneration why is it looked down upon, especially among us Africans that are not just Christian, Muslim, and then of course the Ethiopian Jews? I'm sure that they would have something to say about this as well. So I say that this is what happens when you have a group of people that have not just been colonized in the name, but in the sense. And in this context, the religion just takes over. Like she said in the beginning, hey, isn't that a contradiction to go to church on Sunday and then come back here? And then he responded with saying, well, that's what they got going on. What we got going on is over here. So he's saying like, hey, culture culture is dominant and primary versus religion is secondary. If she is Kenyan, I want to make the connection that, as far as traditional customs, I'm from the Luo, and I'm a proud Jaluo, by the way, of my father, from Kenya. And in Kenyan Luo custom, we have a burial ritual called Toro Buru, meaning like to pick up dust. Buru meaning dust. I'm not sure on what Toro means, but it's a burial ritual, usually done for the elderly or somebody of high importance in the Luo community. And there was this guy had a resume. There was a Luo prominent figure in Kenya that passed away. I believe if it wasn't last year, it was 2023. And it was voted by the Luo Council of Elders that they weren't going to perform Toroburu for him because, are you ready for this? Because he was a Christian and then his wife was a foreigner. Just think about that for a minute. They would have done it if he wasn't identified as a Christian, and of course they had to put it that his wife is a foreigner. The burial tradition itself is not something that I don't think, because I've seen it before. It's basically you're taking cows, bulls especially, around the deceased's homestead, and you just have them run around the homestead more than several times. I think it's like at hours at a time, while family members and friends of the deceased and many members of the village do war chants to chase away evil spirits that the deceased will now not come across. I say that to say, like, urbanization, I believe, is a large part on why this has happened. As great as urbanization is, because again, when you're dealing with first world problems, you got to have first world solutions. So, I'm in support of urbanization. But what happens is that when you have urbanization in post-colonial societies like Kenya, you'll have these conflicts where people are taking and dismissing and leaving their past traditions because it doesn't fit with their religious customs now. It's kind of sad to think about, a prominent Luo figure. His name is Dr. Magoha. Well, he was his name. And he had a resume, man. He was the head of Kenyatta Hospital in Nairobi for like 6 years. He was a professor at Jomo Kenyatta University for I think like 10 years. So, and then I see the comment, what are Luo people known for aside from pillaging? That's, what's funny, Buana, is that, my specific area in Luo land is known for cattle raiding. So that's just funny that you that you mentioned that. But you got to do what you got to do, man. If you don't want to be cattle raided, you gotta be better, right? It's almost like having your cookies taken, right? If you don't want that to continue to happen, just be better. But anyways, nonetheless, this is the only. This only happens when we decide that religion supersedes our traditions. But really awesome that even though she wasn't, she did not want to go anywhere near the snake, that she was just interested that much. Yeah, she said it in the beginning that, people that she's close to warned her about even just going to the country, let alone that area. And shout out to Wida for continuing to put, this on, expose, especially with YouTube and social media, continuing to expose to the rest of the African diaspora out there that, hey, what you may have heard about voodoo is not necessarily what you may think it is. Because at the end of the day, this is African. That's one thing that I love is that, yeah, at least like when you say the name voodoo, people know, okay, hey, it comes from here. Versus, hey, I'm a Muslim. Hey, I'm a Christian. Hey, I'm an Ethiopian Jew. We know where the origins of those things come from. But with voodoo, Yoruba, Ifa, and then, essentially most tribal names like, Igbo, Zulu, the name of the tribe usually is identification of their spiritual system. So, each and every African tribe, still practicing and holding on to theirs. It's a wonderful thing. I love this. I appreciate you and Anthony for bringing this to your attention. This was a great video to watch.
Appreciate that, Jackado. Yeah, I thought so too, man. I really appreciate it. This video. With that said, let's hear from Black Steel.
That was a really good video. I'm gonna share a story with y'all that it's not about the prompt, but it is about snakes. But years ago, it was me and my son's mother. We decided to my kid's mom's we decided to take the kids to the zoo. Now, my son's mother has an intense phobia of snakes. She can't even look at pictures of them in a book. Had she seen this video, she would have ran in the room screaming. She can't stand the sight of snakes. So, so we take the kids. So our son he maybe like 7 months old. My daughter was like 4. She running along, excited to see the animals. We go to the zoo, and we go to they have a place where you can see like the manatees. But the manatee exhibit leads to the reptile exhibit, which leads to the snakes. So, I got the baby in the stroller, my daughter running around. Oh, look at this or whatever. We're having a good time, whatever. So my ex sees the snakes and she starts screaming. All these white people looking at us like we were crazy. She takes off running through the snake exhibit to the. I mean, she's like, I swear she did like Usain Bolt running through to get away from the snakes. So she leaves me with the kids. Just like the kids are just looking at me. it was so embarrassing, but it was a good memory though. But okay, but back to the topic at hand. My knowledge of Vodou is very limited, but I understand the snake god is that Dambala. Dambala is his name, I believe, and I believe that Ouida was like his traditional worship site. It's I'm very happy to see the continuation of African spirituality, African beliefs, and it hasn't been completely stamped out. I think that does my heart good to know that, because I think it's like something like 95% of all Africans belong to one of the Abrahamic faiths. So Christianity, Islam, some Jewish, some Judaism. But most Africans belong to some type of Abrahamic belief. So I think it does show the resiliency of African culture that even after repeated assaults, and I know the Muslims don't want this to happen, and the Christians don't want this type of stuff to happen. So the fact that this still continues is something that I think is amazing. I want to study and learn more about this type of thing. But to answer the question, basically, we've been Christianity has been a tool of colonization and of slavery. And in order to conquer African people physically, they had to conquer them mentally. So that's what led to the adoption of Christianity and other religious beliefs that were at one point considered alien to Africa, especially West Africa. So when they adopted these beliefs, they also adopted the spirituality and the understanding of the world. But even in Christianity, the snake, the serpent, is not always seen as a negative thing. Even though we talk about the snake in the Garden of Eden, Jesus tells his disciples to when they go to preach the gospel, it must be as peaceful as doves and as wise as serpents. There's another story when in the Hebrews in the wilderness and during the 40 years when Moses was leading to the promised land, um, the Israelites were being attacked by snakes. So Moses built up a serpent in the wilderness, and he lifted up the serpent, and all those who gazed upon the serpent were saved. And Jesus talked about just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, therefore I shall be lifted up, and I shall draw all men unto me. So I don't really see, there's the negativity about the serpent. That's the thing about Christianity and religion, man. You can find a Bible verse to fit anything you want to believe, right? So just like you could talk about the serpent in the Garden of Eden, you could talk, well, hell, Moses made a serpent to save people. So, I mean, that's the thing about religion, man. Especially Christianity. You can find a Bible verse to say whatever you need it to say, to justify whatever you need to justify. I always thought it was very interesting. But yeah, I think it was because you could basically turn that around. Well, the serpent in the Garden of Eden was evil, but the serpent in the hand of Moses was good. So what are we doing here? That's what I would say. It's always good to take those people's Bible and turn it around on them and throw it back in their face. I've always liked doing that. That's always been something I enjoy. Take that Bible. Okay, I know that Bible probably better than you do. But yeah, it's because many of us have just taken that and internalized the ideas of European Christianity. And I say European Christianity because Christianity did exist in Africa. Ethiopia has a long history of Christianity. In Egypt, there was a long history of Christianity. But I think that their Christianity was sort of molded to fit their culture. It didn't just ride roughshod. It wasn't used as a tool of imperialism. Which always strikes me is that when Black people tell me, oh, Christianity was in Africa before slavery. Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, why isn't the Christianity that you believe a form of European baptism, where you got Methodists and Episcopalians and whatever the fuck, Pentecostals? But why is it the Christianity you practice directly from Europe? You're not practicing any type of Christianity that was practiced in Africa. You're practicing European Christianity. But yeah, it's very good video. I enjoyed watching it. This religious thing is a hard thing to kick, man. A lot of our people struggle with freeing themselves from the shackles of Christianity. So they would see us, they would, you know, look upon this animal and see some sort of negative connotation with it, unfortunately, because it's so hard to kick this stuff. But I think stuff like this is good to see. And I enjoy seeing Black people connect with their culture and their beliefs. So I'll go ahead and leave it there. Thanks.
Excellent stuff there, Black Steel. Yeah, you raise a good point. How come the Black Christians don't follow, I guess that's Coptic Christianity, like the original Christianity, rather than them following this European Christianity? That's a good point. Thanks for that, Black Steel. Let's welcome in. Hold on one second. Let's welcome in Marcus Mosiah. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. Yeah,
Oh,
the reception seems a little bad.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The saying is start them young. So I think the fear of snakes came from being introduced to that Adam and Eve story at a young age. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I can.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think because it was introduced to us Blacks at a young age, that fear of snakes was just put into us at an early age, and not necessarily for the snake's nature in terms of a snake will poison you or whatever. But it's just the deception of the snake, and therefore when you learn about the facts of a snake, which has nothing to do with talking snakes to begin with, it's already implanted. So I think our fear tied into Christianity is because that's one of the first lessons we were taught, right? Adam and Eve story when you join Christianity. So that was just something that was embedded in us early. Europeans see everything as a what do you call it, as a enemy in terms of nature, except dogs. For some reason, dogs and horses. But you'll never, no matter how many dogs slaughter people or how many dogs they used in slavery, we have a fear of dogs to some extent, and we're more likely to meet a dog before we meet a snake. But that irrational fear is there. Europeans use dogs and horses to abuse us during enslavement, but we don't have that irrational fear. Only some people to these two animals. But the snake, the snake gets a bad rap, and they'll always get a bad rap. I mean, it's poisonous, so that's it. I hope everybody's been good.
I appreciate that.
And it's good hearing you again.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for coming through. I need you to mute your mic, though. Feedback. But good stuff there. It's a reminder, too, what Marcus Garvey, the way he said, is a reminder that Christianity is a religion of fear. And they tend to sink its teeth in you, no pun intended, as children. And that's one of the big reasons why I think that's a big reason why we can't get off of it, is because they've instilled that fear that if you do anything else, lakes of fire, for some reason there's a lake of fire somewhere, that you'll be in for all eternity. And so we're afraid. So thanks for reminding us that, they embed that as a fear from childhood, damn near since birth. And that's a good point. So thank you for that. Let's welcome in our boy Azuli. Azuli, how are you this week?
Yeah, what's up? The question is, why are black people afraid of the snake or whatever? Like the young lady just said, one of the main reasons is we use the Bible. The snake is regarded as bad as Satan. That's number one. Number two, I think Black Steel said something that was important with Moses. There's still a contradiction, even though the Bible goes against the snake, but Moses turned his staff into a Bible to fight the pharaohs. And then what Black Steel I think just said about the snake in the desert or whatever. The Quran is really against the snake and all of that too. Those two books are against the snake or whatever. But the snake clearly represent indigenous black people all over the world. So in the Haitian voodoo in the Haitian voodoo, Dambala is a snake, and Dambala is the creation of life. He created human, I think. That's what it is. So, but the snake, even the word naga, so which people don't want to admit, nigger comes from that word, means snake. Amaru Khan is feathered snake, which is how the indigenous people of America say it. So a lot of indigenous people back there have a sense of reverence for the snake. And well, as a Haitian person, like a lot of Haitian people revere the snake, but also they demonize the snake too due to the mind programming. But we have to look at the how movies play a big role in that. Movies and stories play a big role in turning the snake into a villain. And the words, "Oh, you're a snake," like you call somebody who's a traitor a snake. I don't even know why you do that, but we let the colonization of our mind, and we destroy the snake, which is who in our culture. I'm talking about Haitian culture, Haitian voodoo. I say Haitian voodoo. I know people are gonna give me flag. The Benin voodoo and the Haitian voodoo, I don't think is the same. But hey, we're gonna say that. So even though in Africa, the people in Africa who kind of respect the snake, also even in the Egyptian culture, there's a bunch of snakes in there too. So the Naga, all these Black indigenous cultures have a reverence for the snake, but the problem is a lot of us are against it. A lot of us have been programmed, and I'm tired of blaming that we've been programmed. It's been too long. If you're in 2025 and you're scared of a snake, you're a lame. If you think a snake is bad, you're a lame. And with all the knowledge that's out there that different native cultures in the West and then the East, they all have a reverence for snakes. So when the colonization of our mind happened, where we all, even this young lady, like, you're afraid to touch a snake, that makes no sense. Makes no sense. Or I'm afraid of a snake. All of that is propaganda, especially to Hollywood. You know how Hollywood make this thing. What's that movie that Harrison Ford plays in? What's that movie? Indiana Jones. Even in that, like, and I think Indiana Jones 2, the snake, like, they make you scared of this thing. In horror films, the snake is related to Satan, to devil worshiping. So the snake's got a bad rap. I wonder why they're trying to destroy the snake. I wonder why. But we don't want to go to the other side, because we're still afraid of what is supposed to be us. So in the Haitian culture, even though I say the Haitian people are the majority of the people in the Caribbean that trying to find a way to respect the snake, but there's a lot of, even the Catholics in Haiti also bash the snake, the Protestants. So the snake gets a bad rap, even our language. We should stop saying, "Oh, this guy is a snake," or whatever. All these language we create keeps reprogramming us and programming us. So that's all I have to say about that. I don't know, man. To decolonize your mind, yo, go touch a snake, man. The snakes are not. And the young lady said snakes are venomous. Not all snakes are venomous, to be honest. And snakes don't just attack you. Snakes, they defend their territory. If you come next to them, it's just any animal who wants to defend themselves. The king cobra, the most poisonous snake, if they see you, most of the time, snakes don't even want to be bothered with humans. So that's a definite mind programming that I don't think we are willing to overthrow. So that's all I have to say on that part. I don't know if anybody got questions, but yeah.
Zuli, I have a quick question for you. Like, my memory of snakes when I was growing up back home, like you just said, they were usually running from you. You were walking somewhere, you encroach their space, and they were like, taking off, running. We don't have poisonous snakes indigenous to our area, but in Haiti, is there poisonous snakes and stuff?
To be honest, because I grew up in the city, I don't know if there's poisonous snake, but there probably are. But again, even the poisonous snakes are not trying to kill you. They're trying to run away from you unless you're trying to corner them. Just like any animal, snakes want to be hidden, want to be in the shadow. They don't want to be out. So I just say that the snakes is destroyed because it probably means something important in our culture that we haven't tapped into. But a lot of brothers in here say that's superstition, that's BS. Let's stick to reality. So let's stick to our reality, and I don't even stop while we're having the discussion. Let's stick to reality. The snake is just an animal. There's nothing spiritual about it. Let's just stick to reality.
Wasn't there, and this is for all the pounds, before I go to Anthony, wasn't there a situation with a Catholic priest or something who allegedly drove the snakes out of, I want to say, somewhere.
Ireland. That's St. Patrick. Yeah. St. Patrick story. Well, Ireland doesn't have. I mean, that's a myth that St. Patrick drove the snakes out of Ireland.
No, but the snakes represent the Twa people, because the Twa people have the Uranus on their forehead.
But Ireland, because of where Ireland's position, I don't think there's any snakes on the island.
You're not listening to what I said, bro.
What'd you say?
The Twa people.
The Twa people are located where?
The Twa people are located, based on some theory, were located in Ireland. Why are you laughing?
The Twa? You mean the Pygmies from the Congo or from Ireland?
Azuli, before you answer
the story. I'm sorry. Just to bring some clarity, the story that I've heard, I don't remember if I looked into it deeper or not, but the story was that in Ireland there was like an indigenous black folks who came from West Africa. That were the Twa people who were referred to as the Snake people. And the idea is that this St. Patrick guy went there, actually led an expedition to exterminate those black folks who were in that area. But they talk about it as if they ran actual snakes out of that area. So yeah, and like Buana just said in the chat, the idea is that the leprechauns that the Irish and them talk about.
The leprechaun are supposed to represent the black pygmy short people. So that's what the theory is. I'm not saying that the Twa came from Ireland. Like Koku just said, maybe they travel from West Africa. That's a theory. So if you want to laugh, like it's funny, but hey, do your thing. But that's one of the theories behind St. Patrick's Day.
So I'm sorry. A quick Google search that Ireland has never had snakes. So the whole story about St. Patrick driving the snakes out of Ireland is just simply a legend.
Bro, the snakes represent the people.
There's never been any snakes in Ireland, though.
Is this?
Snakes are not native to Ireland. The Twa, the pygmy people, are native to Central Africa. So how did they get from Central Africa to Ireland? I got questions, man. I got questions.
Yeah, go question evolution. But bro, yo, Koku. So yeah, the snakes are just. I think people are afraid of. People should just go and touch. They're not the big venomous, the huge one. What's it called? The big ones, the big super big snakes, the anacondas. They're not venomous, to be honest. It's the small ones, the medium ones, the rattlesnakes and stuff like that.
Appreciate that, Razuli. We should bring that topic back about the quote unquote snakes in Ireland being the Twa people. So if someone could remember that, post that on the Discord. If I remember it, I'll post it myself. With that said, Anthony, you've heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you to all of it?
Okay, yeah, that was kind of entertaining, man. It was real entertaining, man. I mean, so much was said, man. It almost kind of threw me off track a little bit. But okay, first thing I want to say to our brother Azuli, man, and peace to Azuli, man. Good to hear from you. Is he was talking about the belief system in Haiti and the belief system in Benin, was modern day Benin. At the time was the Dahomey Kingdom. Okay, no, because I did some studying on that. Okay, Voodoo, the spiritual system that we know as Voodoo, which was carried across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas and into Haiti and other parts of the Africa. Okay, in Voodoo, in that spiritual system, the snake Dambalaweo, and he's called Dambalaweo there too, as he is in Haiti. Dambalaweo, the primordial snake, he was a figure that related to like wisdom, knowledge, and also into fertility and other areas in life. And he was always depicted as holding up the earth. No, it was his depiction was him wrapped around the earth and holding up the earth. Actually, the creator deity in the Voodoo spiritual system of Dahomey or of Benin, modern day Benin, was actually a female, one of the only female deities, creators in West Africa. You know, and her name was Nana Baluku. Nana Baluku was the female creator. She was the creator. And in the Voodoo religion in West Africa, in Dahomey. Okay, I wanted to get that part out of the way right there. Okay, the other part I wanted to get to was about we were talking about how black people have been socialized to hate the snake, to hate the serpent. You know, all that coming from the biblical tale about the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Eden and everything with Adam and Eve. Just think about this here. Now, you know, it was just these Abrahamic religions and the way they interpreted them, especially when it came to African people, you know, during slavery and colonial and colonization. Okay, if you think about this for a minute. Now, you got this God somewhere, this God up here who he created Adam and Eve. He created the man and a woman. He put them in a perfect environment, this utopian environment. But he said, don't y'all go over there by that tree. Now, who's in the tree? The serpent is in the tree. Don't y'all go over there by that tree. But if you read between the lines, when they tell them the story, they went to the tree eventually. And what happened? The serpent, if you read what the serpent was telling them, the serpent was telling them everything that was good. If you think about it, the serpent told him to open his eyes. The serpent told him to open their eyes to knowledge and wisdom and all kind of things. The serpent, one word, remember the serpent said, if you open your eyes, you'll see that what? You are gods too. You know what I'm saying? He was telling them that the other God is running a card game on you. He said, if you open your eyes, you'll see that you are God, that the God is in you. Okay. You go fast forward a little bit where Black Steel was talking about the serpent, you know, with Moses and them and all of that mess. Actually, it was the Israelite people had been cursed with blindness. An epidemic of blindness had broke out and they, you know, in which they fashioned a serpent, and they told the people to look into the eye of the serpent. And when they looked into the eye of the serpent, they said when he raised the serpent up in the desert, everybody got their sight back. So if you look at it through, you go through the Bible, because the Bible is so full of contradictions. You know what I'm saying? It says this one place and it says this the other place. You know what I'm saying? It's full of contradictions. And that's why you can't take it seriously. It's really a book of allegory, like Dr. Clark said. It's a tale of story, morality tales and things like that. But when I look at it, I say, like everywhere in the African world, in the Black world, in Africa, whether it's from West Africa, it's to Central Africa, you know, where you have Dambalaweyo in West Africa, we have Nyami in Central Africa, and all the way to Southern Africa among the Shona people and the KwaZulu people and the Zulu people, all the ethnic groups. Everywhere, the serpent is represented as a positive force. He's always represented as a giver of wisdom, a giver of knowledge. Hell, you can even look at some of the early some of these tales from the Americas with the indigenous people here, like the so-called Aztec people or other people in Central America, South America, where they're talking about a plumed serpent and how the serpent was a figure of wisdom. You know, everywhere you go, he was a figure of wisdom, but it was only with these Abrahamic religions. And I don't want to let the Islamists get off the leash either, because we have, when Islam first came to West Africa, okay, one hero that we always revered was this brother, this ancestor, who was a Mandinka man, who was the founder of the Mali kingdom, the Empire of Mali. His name was Sundiata Keita, you know, the Lion King. Forever, we've always looked up to him. But Sundiata Keita had a rival, a man named Samara Kante, who was from the Susu people out of the Senegambia region, out of Guinea. Now, Samara Kante was trying to rebuild the old Wangara kingdom, the empire that we know as Old Ghana. He was trying to rebuild his kingdom, and the people of his kingdom, they were practicing traditional religions, traditional belief systems, the African tradition. So what you had was a conflict between Islam and the African traditional system. Sundiata Keita represented the force that wanted to destroy and stamp out African traditional system. Sundiata Keita wasn't the hero. Samara Kante was the hero. And among the people who in West Africa today who still practice our traditional belief system, they hold him as the hero, not Sundiata Keita. This whole thing about the serpent, from the Christian point of view and the Islamic point of view, is a declaration of war against African culture. That's all it is. Nothing more. It's a declaration of war against our culture. And how do you colonize a people? How do you enslave a people? What? You destroy their belief system, their spirituality. You destroy that. You know what I'm saying? You make it as this is devil worship, or this is paganism and all that. Now you had the sister walking in there, she's scared of snakes. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I understand, you know, like we've been socialized like that. But I mean, looking deeper behind it than it just being a snake and looking at the symbolism, you know, this is what you're saying is, I'm not scared of the snake. I'm scared of my African spirituality. You know what I'm saying? If I go around you talking about Orishas, and if I'm in Haiti talking about Loas or whatever, you thinking that I'm backwards. Oh, you with that old stuff. No, we don't do that no more. You know, no, we Christians, we Muslims. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's a declaration. It's a declaration of war against us as African people, because our spirituality, which is voodoo, which is Odinani, which is Ifa, which is the spiritual system for all over the continent that our people had. You know, that's our culture. It's not just something we believe in, like believing in deities and believing in Orishas and the Lord. This is part of our culture. Like black people here in America, Africans here in America, like with the hoodoo thing. You know what I'm saying? This is part of our culture. And this also comes from Togo. But I'm saying this is all a declaration of war against us and our humanity. You know what I'm saying? These Abrahamic religions and even some of these Western ideologies, you know, that don't want to believe in nothing, or or want to denigrate this. You can't. I'm saying we as African people, we can't separate our culture from us, and our spirituality, not religion. Our spirituality is part of our culture. It makes us who we are. Now, I didn't want to go on too long, man, but I'll leave it right there. I know we pressed for time.
Like I tell you, man, you could.
1 2.
Me personally, you could take your time and talk, because you'll be dropping some gems. But Anthony, how do you spell the name of the real hero again?
Okay, Samara Conte. Yeah. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you.
Okay. In some versions, you know, because they anglicize stuff. In some versions, they call him Sumangaru. You know, and Sumangaru, I think it's Sumanguru, Sumangaru. But I know a brother told me that the correct pronunciation was Samaro Conte, and I think it was, if I can remember right, I know Conte is spelled Kante, and the first part Samaro is like Somare, Samari, like that Samari Conte. You know, and he was the one who tried, after the Ghana kingdom fell, he tried to rebuild it, and he wanted to maintain the African traditional belief systems. You know, in the face of Islam that was like what Sunday Adakita represented as Islam taking over in West Africa. That's what it was.
Appreciate that, Anthony. Yeah. Afro-Native World giving you your props out there. It calls you Anthony the Educator. That's probably what we'll call you on the show from now on. Buana says Anthony got a divine mind. Buana was here as he fell off again, but real good discussion. Zuli just put the name in the chat. Man, real good discussion, but it's that time. It's the end of the show. Again, remember, this is episode 190. We're inching up to episode 200. Share your thoughts on what we should do for the 200th episode in a few weeks. So put that in your mind. Think about it. In the meantime, though, as this is the last for the night, let's do our shout-outs. Let's do our shout-outs tonight. And you guys in the chat can post your shout-outs as well. Let me start with Black Steel. Black Steel, good job. Great job tonight, as a matter of fact. What are your shout-outs this week?
Shout out to Coco T, man. Shout out to Coco T. He was one of my favorite artists as a reggae fan. So, you know, he passed this week. So shout out to him and his family.
Absolutely. Shout out to Black Steel. Shout out to Coco T. Let me hear from Jack Cadero. What would you like to shout out this week?
Man, First, shout out to you, Koku, and everybody in the panel for making this show. For making this show Shoot the Breeze one of the most anticipated programs that I look for and look towards to every single week. It's awesome. Discussions, shout outs, and then just, connecting with people and then always hearing what excuse that Bwana has for whether it's interrupting people during their speaking time or his internet issues. Second, shout out from Omaha, Nebraska, the home of the Empowerment Network that puts on the annual Rebuilding a Village Conference. Once again, Rebuilding a Village Conference held every summer here in Omaha, Nebraska, put on by the Empowerment Network at empoweromaha.com, bringing the like-minded people from real estate, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, mechanics, engineering, and everything in between, from the cities of Houston, Memphis, Cincinnati, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and everything outside and in between. And also, final shout out to earlier we discussed the presence of the black militant group that had came about after neo-Nazis. I believe it was, if it wasn't Ohio, maybe it was in another Midwest state. But I also want to shout out that we also have a black gun rights group that not only continues to promote the Second Amendment for the rights to bear arms for American citizens, but the Black Agenda Alliance here in Omaha, Nebraska, they also teach people on how to safely use firearm. Again, the Black Agenda Alliance is a militant firearm safety rights group, Black-led, Black-managed, and Black-owned. Again, that's Black Agenda Alliance at Omaha. That's bbomaha.com and the empoweromaha.com.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I was telling Jacadero last week, I got to get him to do some promos for us here, man.
What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Let's do it. Let's get it. Come on.
Yeah, I'm going to contact you about it. With that said, Bwana came back to give his shout outs, I guess. Bwana, what say you? Come on, Bwana. Let's do it. All right, Bwana messing up. Marcus Garvey is the way. What would you like to shout out this week?
Shout out to you, getting very close to your 200 shows. It's been definitely educational, a lot of entertainment from all these men who have very strong opinions about a lot of things. So it's very, very enlightening, and it's always good company. And of course, shout out to all the people getting divorced. I know y'all are out there. It is what it is. 2025 is the year for everyone. Good luck to y'all, and Trump, good luck. Later.
I was gonna ask a follow-up question, but I'll leave that alone. Good luck to all of y'all who are getting divorced in 2025, I guess. With that said, Zuli, what would you like to shout out this week? No? Zuli, what would you like to shout out this week? All right, I guess Zuli is gone. I'm going to try Bwana one more again. Bwana, what would you like to shout out this week, brother? All right, that's not going to work. Anthony, what would you like to shout out this week, my friend?
Yeah, man. First place, I want to shout out the Bitter Medicine Podcast for creeping up on this 200 show, man. So shout out to you, Koku. And I want to give a shout out to the brothers and sisters in Jamaica. You know, they got a movement going on in Jamaica now where they protesting against the government, the Jamaican government. And with these this thing where like they have this thing where like 90% of the beaches in Jamaica, native Jamaicans can't go to. You know what I'm saying? They live in Jamaica, they can't go to because they say this stuff for these Europeans and tourists. So shout out and with success for those brothers and sisters in Jamaica for and getting that shit overturned, man. You know, so they could go to their own beaches.
Yeah, good stuff, Anthony. Yeah, we talked about that on Shoot the Breeze a year or two ago about that very phenomenon, and now they're picking up some speed on that. Yeah, I want to thank
I got one more
and shout out.
One more shout out before we close out, real quick. So is it Mia Motley, the president of Barbados?
Yes.
So apparently Trump has announced that anybody who does business with Cuba will lose their U.S. visa. So she says she's willing to risk it because a lot of Cuban doctors operate hospitals, you know, all throughout the Caribbean. So Trump is basically saying if you do business with those Cuban doctors, they're going to lose your visa. And she stood up to this bastard. She said she doesn't mind losing her visa because, you know, fuck Trump. So I support her. So shout out to her too.
You know, I see what Ditso them be saying now. Black Steel be coming and taking your talking points before you could give them. But yeah, shout out to Mia Motley for that. She did stand up. That's Marcus Garvey is the Wiz people right there. She did stand up and she said she'll risk losing her visa. Yeah, shout out to her for sure. That's the show for tonight. One, I tried to give you chances to come on up, but whatever it is, I can't get you on. That's the show for tonight. We should be back next week for episode 191, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bring a friend, share the shows, let people know what we do here. Just quickly, Trigger Happy 262 says shout out to John Mahama, president of Ghana, for meeting with Ibrahim Traore. That's good stuff. Afro Native World says new African family book coming out, The Watoto Born in the New Free Communities, a story of a Pan-African future. Oh, wow. Send me a link to that on Discord if you don't mind. Afro Native World, I appreciate that. Here comes Buana again. Buana, can you hear me this time? All right, Buana. We'll catch up with you next week. As always, man, it's been a pleasure. I'll see you guys next week. In the meantime, be good. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.